Chapter 588. It's a good idea, but I can't do it alone, but you can. Su Yun, do as I say. As the old sect leader spoke, he pulled Su Yun and shouted weakly, "You first, help me up first." Hearing that, Su Yun immediately helped the old sect leader up. The old sect leader sat down cross-legged, raised his hands slightly, and placed them flat on his chest. He closed his eyes as if he was meditating. The 3 bloody holes in his chest were still emitting smoke, and the bloody holes had already pierced through his chest. It was a miracle that the old sect leader was still alive. "Sit down." The old sect leader gasped for breath. Su Yun immediately did as he was told. "Close all of your spirit core and empty all of the profound chi in your chi meridian," the old sect leader said again. Hearing that, Su Yun was startled. "How can I do that, sect leader? Once I do that, my magic tools will definitely stop working and no one will be able to stop the fire dragon. At that time, the situation will only get worse. Don't say any more, quickly do it," the old sect leader said anxiously. Seeing that, Su Yun thought quickly, but very quickly he decided to believe in the old sect leader's words and immediately closed all of the spirit core in his body, stopping the production of the profound chi, and at the same time forcing all of the profound chi out of his body. Without the supply of the profound chi, the giant's power began to fade. Concentrate and calm your mind. Empty your mind and don't think about it. Then open the 4 acupoints of Heaven Valley for Lotus, Tail of Desire, and Moonwood. As the old sect leader spoke, he placed his right hand on Su Yun's chest. Su Yun immediately did as he was told. Dong, 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 dong. At this time, a series of violent explosions came from the other side of the fire dragon, and the fire dragon fell from the sky, pressing down on one of the gigantic devil bone giantess. The giant was directly pressed to the ground, no longer moving. A large amount of flames engulfed it, roasting its pale white body. Not to mention this giant, the other giants had also turned into statues and were completely motionless. At this moment, the fire dragon was like a wild horse that had escaped its reins. Without an opponent, it was completely unrestrained. It realized that the giants had already lost their threat, and immediately turned around, staring at the Lotus Star Sword sect people who were killed by Xiao Huailin, and then roared loudly. Swaying its huge body, it rushed forward. When the people of the Lotus Star Sword sect saw this, their expressions changed drastically. Some of the timid ones could not even stand straight, let alone fight against the fire dragon. How could they possibly deal with such a terrifying beast? The fire dragon opened its mouth and spat at the crowd. The fiery red saliva fell into the crowd and directly swallowed dozens of people. Not even ashes were left. Rolling magma and flames began to spread. The scene was extremely terrifying. Seeing his disciples die one by one, the old sect master's sunken eyes were filled with grief. He closed his eyes, not daring to watch any longer. He could only use all his strength to finish what he had to do. He chanted an incantation in a low voice, and every single sentence that was difficult to pronounce floated into Su Yun's ears. Beneath the 2 of them, a pure white lotus rune appeared. The rune appeared and started to revolve quickly. An overflowing aura floated out. They were like vines, wrapping around Su Yun, drilling into his body, entering the chi meridian, and walking towards the sealed spirit core. The spirit core that had calmed down was circled by the aura, as though it had been reactivated, and could not help but open up. Su Yun felt that the aura was like a strange seed, germinating and growing in the spirit core in his body. And all of this happened in an instant. What kind of mystical, profound skill was this, to have such an effect? Su Yun was secretly shocked. He opened his eyes and looked at the old sect leader in front of him. Suddenly, he realized that the old sect leader had suddenly aged by more than 10 years. Previously, he only looked like an old man, but now, he looked more like a person who was about to die of old age. His skin was like withered tree bark, dry and wrinkled, and his hair had also fallen off one by one. His previously snow-white hair was now dim and lusterless, and age spots had begun to appear, completely unlike his previous sage-like demeanor. "Sect leader, What kind of profound technique is this? Su Yun felt that something was amiss and anxiously asked. It's the profound technique that saved the Lotus Star Sword sect, the old sect leader said indifferently. And as his voice fell, he suddenly retracted his hand that was covering Su Yun's chest, and with lightning speed, he dug towards his own chest. A thumping heart was taken out by the old sect leader. Su Yun was dumbstruck. This heart was not like an ordinary person's heart. It was pure white in color, and the entire heart was snow white without a single flaw. It was so perfect that it was hard to believe. The old sect leader's expression was distorted, and a large amount of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. He opened his eyes that were gradually becoming lifeless, stared at his heart, and suddenly crushed the heart in his hand. With a pung sound, the heart turned into powder, and with a fierce slap, he struck Su Yun's chest, and a burst of dense energy surged over like a tide, instantly spreading throughout Su Yun's entire body. Su Yun felt that the spirit core and chi meridian in his body were frantically rising. His internal organs, flesh and blood, were covered in a layer of pure white light, as though at this moment he was going to be reborn. His cultivation also began to soar. Sect leader, what are you doing? Su Yun opened his eyes wide and muttered. He felt as if his heart had gone blank. Although I have trained hard and spent my entire life only to pursue the great Tao, but my aptitude is too poor, and my cultivation time is also too late. To this day, my cultivation is only at the Sky Spirit Master, and when I meet a supreme expert like Xiao Huailin, I am even more unable to fight with him, and I am unable to even protect my disciples. I am the sect leader, and I have truly failed in my duty. If I were to go to the underworld, I am afraid that I would not have the face to meet the previous sect leaders of the Lotus Star Sword sect, and even more so, I would not have the face to meet my master. So for the sake of the Lotus Star Sword sect, I can only do this. The old sect leader said weakly. His voice was like a mosquito. Su Yun, just now, 3 of my main Chi Meridian S had already been shattered, and the flames of Xiao Huailin's sword had even burned more than half of the spirit core in my body. The current me is not his match at all. So, in order to save the Lotus Star Sword sect, I can only place my hopes on you now. You have all of my profound strength in your body. I do not hope that you could defeat Xiao Huailin. At least, delay him, and persevere until the experts of the Linglong Mountain come to save him. As the old sect leader spoke, the hand that was pressing down on Su Yun's chest powerlessly drooped down. The last bit of chi leaked out, and then there was no more movement. Like a statue, he sat cross-legged in front of Su Yun, not moving at all. Even his soul did not leak out. The heart that had been crushed just now contained everything about the old sect leader, including his soul. The old sect leader of the Lotus Star Sword had completely passed away this time. Su Yun stared with his eyes wide open, his heart beating even faster. At this moment, he felt that all the blood in his body was about to boil, about to burn his blood vessels to ashes, about to melt his body. The wound there had already healed, and at the moment, the power contained in Su Yun's body was even stronger than his peak state. The current him was at least able to fight against a 5th-stage Sky Spirit Master cultivator. Although he did not know how long this would last, it was enough. He already had the capital to fight. Old sect leader, rest in peace. Su Yun will definitely protect the Lotus Star Sword sect for you. Su Yun kowtowed to the old sect leader, then stood up and turned to look at the battle. The fire dragon and Xiao Huailin were like 2 gigantic black holes, crazily devouring the lives of the people from the Lotus Star Sword sect. Everywhere they passed, there was only a patch of red, the red of blood, the red of the flames. Miserable screams and angry roars could be heard everywhere. But now, the angry roar had one more sentence. Xiao Huailin. Su Yun's eyes suddenly turned red. The devil chi around his body was like a flood, gushing out. In the blink of an eye, it had dyed the entire sky. The death sword in his hand was trembling even more crazily, as though it was ignited by the anger in Su Yun's heart. A powerful sword might was released, straight towards the fire dragon's dragon might. The aura began to change. Roar! The fire dragon felt the might coming from the death sword and felt threatened. It released a ruthless roar in an attempt to suppress the might of the death sword. But at that moment, Suyin had already rushed over. That aura could simply topple mountains and overturn the seas. Xiao Huailin, who was in the midst of killing, did not have the time to defend himself, and was stabbed in the shoulder by Su Yun, who was rushing over. His entire body was pushed out of the crowd, out of the group of lotus flowers, and in the end, the two of them smashed into the back mountain of the Lotus Star Sword sect. With a dong sound, the back of the mountain shook, and several huge cracks appeared on the mountain. The death sword contained devil chi and evil chi, and crazily tore towards Xiao Huailin's body. It was just that Xiao Huailin's imperial equipment was extremely extraordinary. Even so, the death sword was unable to pierce through it, and on the contrary, the flames released by the flame cloak started to roast Suyin. We were fighting well, but you had to come over and interfere. How boring. Xiao Huailin had a helpless look on his face, as though he did not take Suyin seriously. But very quickly, his expression became startled. Your aura. It's different from before. Wait, this aura? Isn't this the aura of that old fellow? Could it be that he passed on his power to you? Xiao Huailin said in shock. This kind of secret technique is something that very few people know, and there are very few people who are willing to do so. I never thought that you would actually obtain such a fortuitous encounter and obtain that old fellow's profound strength. Incredible, incredible, but Xiao Huailin suddenly grinned. Do you think you can defeat me like this? With that, he raised his sword and slashed towards Su Yun's head. But in the next second, clang! A pure white sword was pulled out by Su Yun, blocking Xiao Huailin's sword. An even more ferocious flame erupted from the white sword, engulfing Xiao Huailin. Tribulation Fire Sword. The Iron Mountain flames were completely released, one black and one white. The two swords were like two supports, firmly suppressing Xiao Huailin, the terrifying sword chi surrounding his body tightly. Imperial equipment? Although Xiao Huailin looked relaxed on the surface, the Imperial equipment would consume his own profound strength to block the damage. Su Yun was well aware of this point. Wasn't his 7th-tier Imperial equipment the same? No matter how powerful Imperial equipment was, there would always be a moment when it would be broken. Su Yun did not doubt this at all. Chapter 589. The temperature of this sword is so high. Xiao Huailin stared at the Tribulation Fire Sword with his eyes wide open, his face full of shock. He wanted to blast Su Yun away, but realized that Su Yun's strength this time was extremely shocking. Although Xiao Huailin was confident that he could blast his opponent away with one sword strike, but in his current state, he was unable to do so. After all, Su Yun was attacking him from 2 points, and his profound energy was forced to disperse. A portion of the profound energy was used to maintain the Imperial equipment on his body, while the other portion was concentrated on the sword in his hand. The power of this black sword was extraordinary. If he relaxed the supply of profound energy to the Imperial equipment, he would probably be pierced by the sword. Xiao Huailin thought. He stared at Su Yun for a moment and decided to use brute force. He secretly gathered his strength and slowly moved forward. Su Yun, who was using his sword to block Xiao Huailin, was also slowly pushed away. When Xiao Huailin saw this, he suddenly laughed complacently. Just based on this, you still can't beat me. As his voice fell, he suddenly turned the sword in his hand, and the slender blood-red sword immediately released a blazing aura. The moment this aura touched the Tribulation Fire, it was like thunder that had opened the floodgates and immediately exploded. The two of them had no choice but to separate from each other. But Xiao Huailin was not affected by the impact of the explosion. He turned around and rushed towards Su Yun. His terrifying speed was close to teleportation, and with a thought, he had already appeared in front of Su Yun. Xiao Huailin waved his sword again. This sword strike seemed to have surpassed all of his previous sword swings. Su Yun instinctively reacted and raised his tribulation fire sword to block. But just as the tribulation fire sword was about to block the terrifying slender sword, the slender sword split again, transforming into 6 afterimages that attacked together. What? Su Yun's face paled. This sword strike, this speed, could be described as his granddaughter-in-law's myriad changes. Xiao Huailin stared at Su Yun complacently, and when he saw Su Yun's incomparably shocked expression, his complacency became even stronger. However, with a clang, the terrifying slender sword that was slashing over suddenly stopped. Xiao Huailin was startled. He looked over, only to see that his sword was blocked by a layer of grayish-white chi cover. Imperial equipment? Xiao Huailin was stunned. Do you think you're the only one with Imperial equipment? Su Yun said coldly. He removed the flag and slashed with his sword. Although Su Yun's speed could not compare to Xiao Huailin's, this fierce attack made Xiao Huailin unable to care about anything else. As such, Su Yun's goal had been achieved. As long as he could restrain Xiao Huailin, he could wait for the experts of Xiao Huailin and the experts to arrive. He would not be able to arrive. As long as he could restrain Xiao Huailin and wait for the experts of the Linglong Mountain to arrive, then he would have nowhere to run. At that time, just based on the fact that he ignored the rules of the Linglong Mountain, destroyed the Black Hawk sect, and attacked the Lotus Star Sword sect, it would be enough to sentence him to death. Xiao Huailin also used his fast sword, but his speed was not enough to give him a huge advantage in this fight. The two of them fought for more than 100 breaths of time, only to see the sword chi surging, the explosion caused by the collision of the sword blades. The entire mountaintop was flattened by the surging sword chi. The battle was extremely intense. Xiao Huailin seemed to know that continuing to fight with Su Yun would only be disadvantageous to him. He immediately shouted, as though he was sending a signal to the fire dragon. The fire dragon roared. It swung its slender and strong body, dancing in the air, flying towards Su Yun. The fire dragon's killing intense soared as it rushed towards Su Yun. The dense chi was like the sky covering Su Yun's heart. If Xiao Huailin and the fire dragon worked together, even if Su Yun and the old sect leader's cultivation were to be put together, they would definitely not be a match for him. After all, the destructive power of the fire dragon was even greater than Xiao Huailin's. Su Yun had been waiting for the fire dragon to attack for a long time. His eyes suddenly flashed with a red light. The evil chi on his body suddenly disappeared. The devil chi overflowed and rushed toward his arms in a whirlpool. What a powerful devil chi! Xiao Huailin was secretly shocked. He also became vigilant, worried that Su Yun would use some terrifying, profound skill. However, Su Yun did not make much of a move. The ones who were acting strangely were the 7 devil-bone giantess. The 7 statue-like giants moved once again. They stood on the ground, rushed out of the raging flames, and quickly rushed towards the fire dragon. The ground trembled as the 7 giants trampled on it. However, the 7 giants did not attack the fire dragon. Instead, as they continued to run, their gigantic, pale, and towering bodies began to slowly gather together. Every part of their bodies released a scorching light, and a dense devil chi leaked out. The parts of each giant that shone were different. Some had markings on their foreheads, some had markings on their chests, some had markings on their arms, some had markings on their legs, and every part was different. The devil chi turned into a vast and boundless thick chain, linking together and finally forming a whole, tightly binding the 7 giants together. Longbone heroic spirit. With the help of Changgu, the 7 devil-bone holy guards could become one. In fact, they were originally one body, and were originally taken from the same body as the Holy Bone Demon Guard. This chain merely restored it to its original state. When the giants were tied together by the chains formed from the devil chi, their bodies spewed out a large amount of devil chi. This devil chi was like a cocoon wrapping around the 7 giants, and the devil chi continued to leak out, causing the cocoon to grow bigger and bigger, more and more majestic. When it stopped growing, the cocoon was already as tall as Mount Tai. I'm afraid everyone in the Linglong Mountain could see its grand and heroic appearance. The Lotus Star Sword sect was only the size of a few feet beneath its feet. When the cocoon appeared, Su Yun's body once again felt a sense of powerlessness, as if he was peeling off a cocoon. He gritted his teeth and persevered, not daring to relax in the slightest. The cocoon hatched very quickly. After a few seconds, it immediately loosened. The chains formed from the devil Qi slowly loosened. They broke one by one, disintegrated, and finally dissipated. The cocoon also slowly dissipated, like sand blown by the wind, gradually flying away into the distance. At this moment, a huge creature walked out from the cocoon. At this moment, everyone in the Linglong Mountain was stunned. What kind of majestic existence was this? The ancient demon god was probably calling him such a majestic giant, right? Its entire body was pale white and made of bone. Its head was as large as a mountain, with 2 horns on its head. It had 7 eyes, 3 on the left and right, and 1 on its forehead, all of which were pitch red in color. It had 6 arms, each of which was thick and sturdy. Its huge shoulders were large enough to build a city, and there were bony spikes growing out of them. The bony spikes were incomparably sharp and abnormally large. However, compared to the bony spikes, the pair of terrifyingly huge bone wings on its back was truly unforgettable. When the bony wings spread out, it was like a Kuan Peng spreading its wings, covering the sky and the earth. The moment it appeared, it gave off an unparalleled aura that could break through the world and suppress the earth. It was as if everything in the world was an ant in its eyes. The hegemon of the world was nothing more than this. Devil Bone Spirit. Su Yun stared. He had spent an astonishing amount of profound qi to activate the last imprint of the Devil Bone Holy Guard, the imprint given by Changgu. If not for the help of the old sect leader, he would never have been able to fuse the 7 Devil Bone giants together. In front of the Devil Bone Spirit, the huge fire dragon was just like a small snake. The dragon might emitted from its body was not enough to affect the Devil Bone Spirit. What the hell is this thing? Xiao Huilin stared at the Devil Bone Spirit in shock and cried out involuntarily. The current him no longer had the confidence and complacency from before, and all that was left was shock and hesitation. Taking advantage of his absent-mindedness, Su Yun immediately turned and leaped backwards, retreating towards the gigantic Devil Bone Spirit. The Devil Bone Spirit stretched out his terrifying palm that covered the sky, grabbed onto Su Yun, and then placed him on his shoulder. This was the shoulder of a true giant. Su Yun stood on the giant's shoulder, the strong wind blowing his cloak. He looked down at Xiao Huilin, his blood-red eyes filled with endless killing intent. The devil Qi danced in the air. Kill! Su Yun coldly gave the order to the Devil Bone Spirit. Instantly, the Devil Bone Spirit moved again. It opened its hand like a 5-finger mountain. It covered Xiao Huilin, who was at the other side, its terrifying palm pressing down. It was as if the sky had collapsed. What the hell is this? Xiao Huilin retreated a few steps. He raised his head and looked at the palm. He tried to use the profound energy to resist, but at that moment, he realized that the strength of the gigantic object was not inferior to his in the slightest. If the previous Devil Bone giant strength was completely built on the foundation of Su Yun's own cultivation, then this Devil Bone Spirit was built on the foundation of Enmo and Changgu's cultivation. The 2 peerless experts of the True Devil sect were not people that ordinary people could compare to. Roar! The fire dragon rushed over and struck the palm of the gigantic palm in an attempt to stop it from falling. But the power of the palm was simply unimaginable. When the palm pressed down, the fire dragon was directly smashed into the ground, and even Xiao Huilin was suppressed to the ground. The ground was completely shattered, and a huge force completely collapsed the mountaintop of the Lotus Star Sword sect. All the houses were destroyed, and the scene was a mess. The people of the Lotus Star Sword sect were all thrown into a mess. They could not even stand steadily. Some of them were even sent flying, and the towns that were closer to the Lotus Star Sword sect were also affected, causing the entire world to be shocked. No one stopped Su Yun. Su Yun himself would never stop. If he did not kill Xiao Huilin, the hatred in his heart would not be appeased. Roar! The devil bone spirit released a roar that resounded through the 9 heavens. He extended his palm once again and extended it towards the broken ground, grabbing Xiao Huailin, who was even smaller than an ant. Holding him in his palm, he crazily crushed him. The powerful force and devil chi were like a meat grinder, crazily killing Xiao Huailin. Xiao Huailin completely gave up on attacking and focused all of his strength on the imperial equipment on his body, using it to block the devil bone spirit's attack. The fire dragon broke out of the ground and spat out a torrential flame towards the devil bone spirit. The flame was like a sea of fire, baptizing his enormous body. However, the devil bone spirit was fine. The strength of this heroic spirit body had probably already surpassed that of an existence of the sky spirit master. The people of the Lotus Star Sword sect were all stunned. All of them had stunned expressions on their faces. To them, this scene was no less than Pangu's creation of the heavens and earth. It was believed that everyone present would never be able to forget this magnificent and vast scene in their lives. The existence of the giant and the powerful strength it displayed had completely subverted their understanding of the strong in their hearts. In the distance, a large layer of dense clouds quickly floated towards the Lotus Star Sword sect. These people were led by the strongest force in the Linglong Mountain, the Feather Moon Pavilion. After receiving the urgent message from the Lotus Star Sword sect, everyone responded, and very quickly, there were over 10,000 strong warriors rushing over. All of them had at least the 3rd stage of the Sky Spirit Master. It could be said to be a gathering of heroes. However, when this group of people approached the Lotus Star Sword sect, the giant that appeared caused everyone to uncontrollably stop in their tracks. Chapter 590. What is this? Feather Moon Pavilion's Pavilion Master Yin frowned as he watched. As the leader of the strongest power in the Linglong Mountain, Yin would usually not go out to capture criminals who violated the rules of the mountain. However, today was different. This criminal had wiped out an entire sect. This was definitely not something an ordinary person could contend against. Sending ordinary spirit cultivators would only be sending them to their deaths. The experts present were not only the pavilion master of the Feather Moon Pavilion, but also the sect leader of the Tsanghuai sect, the sect leader of the Qinsong Mountain, and so on. Everyone stood on the clouds formed from qi and stared ahead, their faces filled with seriousness. Is he an enemy or a friend? Qinsong Mountain sect leader Zhang Luquang said in a low voice. Maybe he's a friend and not an enemy. The Tsanghuai senior from the Tsanghuai sect said in a low voice. Why do you think so? Zhang Luquang asked. The old Tsanghuai senior, who was dressed in blue, extended the staff in his hand and pointed in that direction. He said indifferently, the fire dragon has been suppressed. With that said, everyone looked over anxiously, only to see that the fire dragon that was spitting flames at the giant was grabbed by the giant with one hand and was also crazily crushed. The giant had 6 arms, and the chi on each arm could easily tear apart all existences below the Sky Spirit Master. Even those above the Sky Spirit Master would find it difficult to contend against this chi and power, so the giant's strength was simply invincible. Such a terrifying existence caused the faces of everyone present to sink. Pavilion Master Yanwen, in your opinion, what should we do now? Zhang Luquang retracted his gaze and turned to the middle-aged man in a luxurious robe, Yanwen, and asked, Ask about the situation, then act according to the circumstances. Yanwen said, The message came from the Lotus Star Sword sect, and this place also belongs to the Lotus Star Sword sect. Quickly send someone to invite the old sect leader of the Lotus Star Sword sect over and ask him about it. All right. Zhang Luquang nodded, then turned and said a few words to the people beside him. Very quickly, a few spirit cultivators flew down. After a while, a few people from the Lotus Star Sword sect followed the spirit cultivator and flew over. The leader was the chief elite of the Lotus Star Sword sect, Hua Tianwu. But the current Hua Tianwu had one of his arms broken, and there were several sword wounds and burn marks on his body. His chi was extremely weak, and if not for his profound cultivation, these injuries would have been enough to take his life. Hua Tianwu was brought up. He anxiously walked in front of Yin Wen and the rest, knelt down on one knee, and said anxiously, Hua Tianwu pays his respects to Pavilion Master Yin, pays his respects to the various sect masters, sect leader, sect leader, sect leader. I hope that everyone can quickly send experts to help my sect Protector Su. Kill Xiao Huailin. Protector Su? Xiao Huailin. Zhang Lu Kuang, Sung Huai Venerable, and the rest looked at each other in confusion. Hua Jingrui, stand up and speak. Don't be anxious. I only rushed over after receiving the news, so I don't know much about it. Yin Wen helped Hua Tianwu up. Tell me about the situation, and also, why don't I see your sect leader? Hearing this question, Hua Tianwu's eyes suddenly became filled with grief and indignation. He clenched his fists tightly, his teeth almost breaking, and said hatefully, Sect leader. The sect leader is already dead. He was killed by Xiao Huailin. The old sect leader is dead? When everyone heard this, they went into an uproar. Some people were surprised, but most of them revealed expressions of helplessness and sadness. Sung Huai Venerable and the rest shook their heads. It was likely that many people would find this news hard to accept. I never thought that the old sect leader would have already passed away. We were still too late. Yin Wen sighed and continued. Hua Jingrui, you said that the old sect leader was killed by Xiao Huailin then. Who is this Xiao Huailin? This person is the thief who destroyed the Blackhawk sect. Hua Tianwu said with both grief and anger. I don't know where this person came from. He came to my sword sect to meet with the sect leader, but he carried out an assassination. His cultivation is extremely high. He has the protection of the imperial equipment, and he even has the help of the ancient vicious beasts. His methods are extremely high. We are not his match. The old sect leader was previously injured and fought with the experts of the Black Hawk sect for a few days. The profound Qi was consumed too much, and he took advantage of the opportunity to kill him. So that's how it is. Yin Wen nodded and turned to look at the other side. At that moment, the giant's palm had already been pushed away by Xiao Huailin, but Xiao Huailin was not feeling well. The flames on his fiery red robe were already extremely weak, and Xiao Huailin's face was extremely pale, as though he was at the end of his tether, and the fire dragon was forced by the giant's other palms to the point where it was difficult for him to protect himself, and was in a sorry state. The initiative to fight was completely in the hands of the giant. On the giant's shoulder, the man in the black robe was forming hand seals. The devil Qi was wreaking havoc, and the giant's aura became even stronger. Then, who is this person? Yin Wen finally asked the question that everyone wanted to know the answer to. Him? Hua Tianwu looked at Su Yun, his eyes flashing with confusion and respect, and said seriously, He is my sect's new protector. His name is Su Yun. He is taking over the position of Protector Qingwenlu, and was personally appointed by the sect leader. If not for Protector Su stepping forward in time, I'm afraid that the Lotus Star Sword sect would have already followed in the footsteps of the Blackhawk sect and would no longer exist. Everyone's hearts trembled, and that Sanghuai Sr. was even more shocked. This person is actually your sword sect protector? When did your sword sect have such a terrifying expert? No one could see through Su Yun's cultivation, but that was not important. What was important was that the giant's aura was something that none of them could compare to. If the Lotus Star Sword sect had such an expert, then the Lotus Star Sword sect's position in the Linglong Mountain would also rise. I've never heard of this Su Yun. Where did he come from? Zhang Lu Kuang asked again. It is said that he is an important minister of the Realm Lord. Fellow sect leaders, if there is anything, Tianwu will explain it to all of you later. Now that Protector Su is injured, I am afraid that he will not be able to hold on for long. I hope that fellow sect leaders can quickly make a move and help me take down this thief, Xiao Huailin, and return my Lotus Star Sword sect to peace. Hua Tianwu said anxiously as he kowtowed. Seeing that, Yin Wen and the rest realized that their side had indeed asked too many questions, and now was not the time to talk nonsense. Yin Wen nodded towards the experts from the various sects. Everyone understood, and immediately rushed out, attacking Xiao Huailin together. Without any politeness, all sorts of profound skill flew towards Xiao Huailin. The surrounding space rippled, and the exquisite profound strength whistled through the air. Xiao Huailin sensed it, turned to look, and broke out in cold sweat. Although his methods were heaven-defying, but the moment he was truly outnumbered. If not for Su Yun and the giant, facing these experts, he would still have the strength to fight. But at the moment, he was being suppressed by Su Yun. How could he have any leeway to retaliate? Bullying with numbers. Bullying with numbers. Are the people of your Linglong Mountain so shameless, so boring? Good. This time, I will let you all go. In the future, I, the #1 sword in the world, Xiao Huailin, will find you all to settle the score. Xiao Huailin released an angry roar. His palm smashed onto the giant's palm, releasing a circle of fire profound chi. Shaking off the palm, he then took the opportunity to push his speed to the limit, flying far away. You want to run? Did I tell you to run? Song Huai Sr. snorted, his voice spread out, causing Xiao Huailin's chi and blood to churn. The chi meridian trembled like a string, his body became unstable, and he almost fell from the sky. This method was shockingly able to ignore the Imperial equipment. If you dare to cause trouble in the Linglong Mountain, then don't even think about escaping. It's better if you come back. Feather Moon Pavilion's Pavilion Master Yin, when said lightly, he extended his hand forward, and a mysterious power that was close to space erupted from his palm, causing the air to tremble, distorting like waves, and Xiao Huailin's body suddenly disappeared. And when he reappeared, he was already in front of Yin 1. His neck was tightly gripped by Yin 1, and it was difficult for him to struggle. What a powerful method! Everyone cried out, as expected of the supreme expert at the peak of the Linglong Mountain. Damn it! Xiao Huailin struggled for a while, then scolded Yin Wen angrily. Then he quickly waved his hand, extended 2 fingers, and pointed at his chest. Bang! An intense explosion suddenly sounded out, engulfing Xiao Huailin and Yin Wen. Pavilion Master. Seeing this, the people from Feather Moon Pavilion anxiously rushed over and shouted, I'm fine, don't worry. His voice floated up, and Yin Wen's figure slowly appeared in front of everyone. Seeing that Yin Wen was fine, the people from Feather Moon Pavilion relaxed. I never thought that this person would be so ruthless. He would actually detonate the Imperial equipment. Although his Imperial equipment was not destroyed, it must have suffered quite a bit of damage. I'm afraid its grade will drop greatly. Yin Wen frowned. Looking at Xiao Huailin again, he did not know why, but he had already rushed dozens of kilometers away. His appearance was no longer as carefree and unrestrained as before. Now he was in a sorry state. His hair was disheveled, and his long robe was in tatters. Many parts of his skin had split open, and blood was seeping out. His aura was weak, and the blood-red thin sword in his hand was dim. Seeing that, the other experts would not let him go. They surrounded him, and Xiao Huailin fell into the encirclement again. Xiao Huailin suffered a fierce attack and found it hard to hold on. The surrounding profound skill S and blades were about to drown him. Was he at a dead end? Seeing that, Su Yun, who was on the giant's shoulder, revealed an unquenchable anger in his blood-red eyes. He kept the 1,000 swords, the death sword, and the immortal mystical scarlet blood sword, and only held on to one sword. Tribulation Fire. The injuries caused by the Tribulation Fire could not be recovered in this lifetime. If he wanted to kill, he had to kill him completely, and not let Xiao Huailin have the chance to make a comeback. Staring at the red figure in the crowd, Su Yun took a step forward and descended from the sky. With one hand holding onto the sword tip pointed straight at Xiao Huailin, who was in the crowd, and the remaining profound strength in his body opened up with all his might. In an instant, the sudden white light was like a meteor falling to the ground, dazzling and resplendent. At the tip of the blazing and mystical longsword, a pure white and beautiful lotus pattern appeared. Xiao Huailin, remember this sword. Su Yun roared, the sword tip falling down. The incomparably powerful might shocked Xiao Huailin, causing him to suddenly turn his body and raise his sword to block. Heartbreaking sword art. Su Yun took the opportunity to activate the sprite shadow, causing the Tribulation Fire sword power to increase by several times. The violent sword force dispersed all of the opponent's profound strength, sweeping through everything before it, unstoppable. Xiao Huailin could not hold on any longer. The blood sword was blasted away. The tribulation fire sword pierced in his chest. The imperial equipment could no longer stop the terrifying tribulation fire sword, and was directly pierced through. The blazing sword pierced through Xiao Huailin's chest. Lotus Star Sword Art. Crack! Su Yun activated the profound chi. With a thought, he shouted, "Dong!" Xiao Huailin's chest immediately exploded. Like a blooming lotus, his skin and bones rolled out, and a huge transparent hole appeared in his chest. Chapter 591. One sword to break it. This sword strike could be said to be mystical, but not powerful. It had to be known that Xiao Huailin's profound chi was already very little, and after giving birth to the Devil Bone Spirit, most of the power that the old sect leader had given him had already been used up. Xiao Huailin's own cultivation was not only at the third stage of the Sky Spirit Master. He had used some kind of technique to tamper with his cultivation, which gave people the illusion that he was only at the third stage of the Sky Spirit Master. His cultivation was definitely stronger, and to break through a body that was many levels higher than his own, it was extremely difficult. Even if Xiao Huailin was at the end of his rope, it was still difficult to do. But now, Su Yun had given him a fatal blow, all because of the mystical Lotus Star Sword Art, and all because of his thoughts. When he activated the Lotus Star Sword Art, Su Yun felt as if his brain had been stripped of all thinking abilities. It was completely blank, and his state of mind was terrifyingly calm. He did not feel any grief towards the old sect leader's tragic death, nor did he feel any hatred towards Xiao Huailin. The profound chi flowed back. The spirit core shone brightly, and lotus patterns appeared. It was extremely mystical. The old sect leader had once said that the main motivation for thinking came from one's thoughts and state of mind. After eliminating everything else, one would begin to persevere in what one wished to do at the moment. Using the profound strength as a medium, one would use the sword techniques to move one's line of sight. This was a powerful sword technique that transcended ordinary sword techniques, or rather, it could not be completely called a sword technique because it did not have any moves. When his state of mind and thoughts were completely empty, Su Yun's mind and heart could not help but have a crazy thought. Destroy Xiao Huailin. His chest exploded, blood splattered out, his internal organs were shattered, and Xiao Huailin's body directly fell from the sky. He fell to the ground. Seeing that, Su Yun did not give up. He raised the tribulation fire sword and rushed forward again, the sword tip sweeping out, wanting to cut open his flesh and blood and shatter his soul. Only when his soul was slashed would Xiao Huailin truly die. Otherwise, if he met a supreme expert to reconstruct his body, he would still be able to revive, so if he wanted to kill him, he had to kill him thoroughly. However, right at that moment, a ray of white light suddenly shot out from Xiao Huailin's neck, surrounding his body. This light was like a transparent membrane that tightly surrounded his body. After the light appeared, a large amount of light surged towards the broken part of his chest. It quickly transformed into transparent organs, bones, and flesh. Not good. Yanwen frowned, his body moved, and instantly appeared in front of Xiao Huailin. With one hand forming a finger, he quickly pointed at the thin film that was wrapped around Xiao Huailin. Dong! A huge ripple of profound energy erupted from the thin membrane, causing the void to tremble. All the experts in the surroundings were forced to retreat. The thin membrane also shook for a while, and cracks appeared on it, but it was not torn apart. Seeing that, Su Yun rushed over. The tribulation fire hacked at it, but it still only caused cracks and did not break it. Protector Su, this must be some kind of protective magic treasure. I am afraid that this person called Xiao Huailin is the son or disciple of some supreme expert. This protective magic treasure is definitely not an ordinary item. It must be bestowed by an incredible sage. It is difficult to break. He wants to escape. Let's quickly cut it open and capture him. Yanjin exclaimed softly. Su Yun nodded and fiercely waved his hand, but before he could do much, Xiao Huailin, who was wrapped in a thin film, suddenly opened his eyes and quickly activated his qi to move. At this moment, he seemed to have received the support of the protective magic treasure and was able to unleash a lot more profound qi. In the blink of an eye, his body had already landed tens of kilometers away, avoiding the sharp light. However, the experts present all had extraordinary cultivations, profound techniques that could reach the heavens. Almost at the same time Xiao Huailin dodged, there were a total of 7 people who instantly landed around him and launched their attacks. However, before the 7 of them could move, a blazing heat had already assaulted them. It was the fire dragon. It tried its best to break free from the devil bone spirit's restraints and rushed toward Xiao Huailin. Its speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, it had arrived beside Xiao Huailin and then attacked the experts around him without caring about anything else. The fire dragon swung its tail, causing flames to spread in all directions. The experts were not allowed to approach, but Xiao Huailin took advantage of this time to turn around and escape, not caring about the life or death of the fire dragon. Seeing that, everyone wanted to chase after him, but the fire dragon was guarding that place with all its might. Anyone who approached would be greeted by its hysterical attacks. With the fire dragon palace behind him, Xiao Huailin successfully escaped. Su Yin wanted to urge the devil bone spirit to intercept Xiao Huailin, but just as he was about to give the order to the devil bone spirit, his vision went black. Before he could even react, he fell from the sky and fainted, while the incomparably huge devil bone spirit turned into sand and dissipated into the air. The profound qi was exhausted. Quick, bring Protector Su down for treatment. The pale-faced Hua Tianwu anxiously shouted towards the people of Lotus Star Sword Sect. Hearing that, an expert immediately rushed over to catch Su Yun. A few people from Lotus Star Sword Sect rushed over, not daring to hesitate. They supported Su Yun and retreated. The scene was a mess. Yin Wen and the rest did not give up. A group of people stayed behind to fight the fire dragon, while the existences led by Yin Wen chased after Xiao Huailin. Xiao Huailin had the protective magic treasure to prolong his life. Although his chest was pierced, he still did not die. He continued to run. His speed was extremely fast. Other than Yin Wen, Senior Songhuai, and the other top existences who could still keep up with his pace, the others were left far behind. Not even their shadows could be seen. Xiao Huailin had a magic treasure, so he naturally would not be killed so easily. He took out an eyeball-sized pearl and threw it behind him. At the same time, he shot out a ray of profound qi, hitting the pearl. The pearl was silent for 3 breaths of time, and then exploded, shooting out balls of smoke. When Yin Wen and the rest got close to the smoke, the profound qi in their bodies immediately dropped crazily, as though they were being devoured by the smoke. Disperse. Yin Wen formed a hand seal and bellowed. The profound strength spread out in all directions like ripples, pushing the smoke back. When he looked at Xiao Huailin again, he had already disappeared, and no one knew where he had gone. Damn it, that brat ran away, Zhang Luquang said angrily. This person's cultivation is not ordinary, and his entire body is filled with treasures. He even has the help of an ancient vicious beast like the fire dragon. I'm afraid he's not an ordinary person. I wonder if there's anyone capable behind him. Senior Songhuai said worriedly. In fact, when they were fighting Xiao Huailin just now, although everyone looked like they were surrounding him, no one dared to kill him. Xiao Huailin's strength was not ordinary, and he was so arrogant that he came to the Linglong Mountain to cause trouble. Some people were worried that they would offend the Lord by killing Xiao Huailin, so they held back, hoping that others would capture or kill Xiao Huailin, which was why they allowed Xiao Huailin to escape. Otherwise, with so many experts from the Linglong Mountain attacking together, the injured Xiao Huailin would definitely not be able to leave. Although they had come together, their hearts were different. Yin Wen and Senior Songhuai understood what everyone was thinking, but none of them pointed it out. We should immediately give the order to chase after Xiao Huailin in the entire mountain, and also strictly set up defenses around the Linglong Mountain, forbidding anyone with unknown origins from entering the Linglong Mountain. It would be best if we can capture Xiao Huailin, and if we can't, we must chase him away so that he doesn't dare to take half a step into my Linglong Mountain, Yanwen said in a low voice. That's right. Everyone nodded. Just then, Mini Spirit Cultivator S flew over from behind. Seeing that, Yanwen immediately went over. Pavilion Master Yanwen, have you caught that madman? The sect leader cupped his fists towards Yanwen and asked. He was lucky enough to escape. Yanwen shook his head. As the sound of his voice faded, everyone revealed looks of disappointment. Has the fire dragon been destroyed? Not yet. The person shook his head and said, we were in the middle of a fierce battle with the fire dragon, but it suddenly disappeared. Our methods were all in vain. How miraculous! Disappeared? How is that possible? This is absolutely true. Everyone saw it. What's going on? Everyone was puzzled. Yanwen rubbed his chin and thought for a while, then said, maybe we guessed wrong. Maybe this fire dragon is not a fierce beast that Xiao Huailin captured. Maybe it is just a magic tool that he summoned. A magic tool? The few of them looked at each other in dismay. Suddenly, they thought of another existence that possessed an extremely powerful magic tool. It was the Lotus Star Sword Sect Protector who was unconscious and had suddenly arrived. Su Yun. Hey! Whiz! A fiery red figure crashed into a lush green forest. With a bang, the figure landed on the ground, creating a huge crater. Blazing flames splashed in all directions, igniting the surroundings and scaring away some of the nearby birds. The figure lay on the ground and gasped for breath for a while. Then he supported himself with his sword and stood up. I never thought that there would be so many experts in the Linglong Mountain, and that guy wearing a black cloak. Damn it, relying on their numbers to bully me. I must take revenge. Suyin, right? Xiao Huailin, will definitely not let you off, Xiao Huailin said while gasping for breath. He lowered his head and looked at his chest. At this moment, the organs on his chest that were formed by the transparent membrane had already started to fail. He felt his strength getting weaker and weaker, and the pain in his chest was getting stronger and stronger. Father said that this magic treasure will quickly heal wounds when I suffer a fatal blow, avoid death, and save my life. However, this can only last for a day. If I can use my profound energy to grow new flesh and blood within this day, to fill up the wound, I won't die, Xiao Huailin muttered, then immediately sat down cross-legged, urged his qi to adjust his breathing, and recovered from his injuries. However, after adjusting his breathing for a full 4 hours, the profound qi circulated crazily in his body, stimulating the cells and blood vessels in his body, causing them to regenerate, but there was no movement at all. The place where he was injured seemed to be completely isolated from him, and was not affected by the profound qi at all. Not a single bit of flesh and blood was produced. What's going on? Xiao Huailin turned pale with fright. No effect at all. He lowered his head to look at his wound, only to see a white flame burning on it. Although it was very small and faint, it was real. No matter how the profound qi pounced on the flame, it could not be extinguished. This flame was thousands of times more violent than the flame he used. How could Xiao Huailin know that this was the highest flame on the Tribulation Fire Sword's Iron Mountain? Even if he used a sacred art, he might not be able to extinguish the flame. Hey, what are you doing here? Just as Xiao Huailin turned pale with fright, a clear sound came out from the side. Chapter 592. When the voice came out, Xiao Huailin immediately jumped up, pulled out his sword and retreated, and looked towards the direction of the voice. He saw a petite young lady dressed in a purple robe standing in front of a burning tree. The young lady's appearance was exceptionally exquisite and cute, with white skin and big black eyes, as if she could speak. Her long hair hung down her waist, but behind her there was a snow-white tail, and on her head were 2 cute fox ears. Fox Demon. Xiao Huailin was startled. What kind of profound technique is this? The Fox Demon looked at Xiao Huailin's chest and revealed a surprised expression. I'm seriously injured. Xiao Huailin suddenly clenched his teeth and said, I was beaten up by those shameless people from Linglong Mountain. They bullied me with their numbers, and I couldn't beat them alone, so I became like this. But why aren't you dead? What was going on with his chest? With such heavy injuries, if it was a normal person, they would have died long ago, right? The fox demon continued to ask. This is a life-extending magic treasure that my father gave me. I need to quickly recover from the injury on my chest, but right now, my profound chi seems to be unable to recover from this injury. I need to go back and see my father and ask him to save me. After saying that, Xiao Huailin's face suddenly turned cold. He stared at the fox demon and said, I see that your cultivation is not low. It is difficult for me to walk now. So bring me out of Wanhua realm. If you are willing to bring me away and return to Sword World, I will let my father reward you well. If you're not willing, I will kill you. With that said, Xiao Huailin extended his hand and pointed at his waist. A strand of profound energy was injected into his belt, and in that moment, a furious roar erupted, and a majestic fire dragon flew out from his belt, dancing in the sky. Seeing that, the fox demon was so scared that her beautiful face turned pale. She hurriedly retreated and said, Don't act recklessly, don't kill me. I'll bring you there. That's more like it. Xiao Huailin kept the fire dragon and nodded in satisfaction. However, I don't know where the sword world you're talking about is. You have to lead the way. Of course, just take me there. How long will it take to get to Sword World from here? At least 3 days. Then how long can you last? This. 1 day. Xiao Huailin hesitated for a moment. 1 day. Aren't you going to die on the road? The fox demon pressed her finger against her pink lips. I will accelerate your chi and speed up your journey. Try to get there within a day. But if there's an accident on the way and you're delayed, won't you die on the way? Can you guarantee that you won't encounter any enemies on the way? Can you guarantee that we won't encounter any dire beasts along the way? The fox demon curved her beautiful eyes and laughed. I think it's better not to go to the sword world. You should first stabilize your injuries. As long as your injuries are stable, you can go to your sword world by yourself. Isn't that better? If I could stabilize my injuries, why would I waste so much time talking to you? Xiao Huailin said somewhat impatiently. The fox demon smiled slyly and said, I know of a place with a spirit spring. It is said that this spirit spring is extremely magical. It is formed from the blood of the goddess above the 9 heavens after she died. It is holy and noble. If an ordinary person soaks in it, their body can become indestructible. If a spirit cultivator soaks in it, their cultivation will increase explosively. Their body will not be destroyed. For someone with serious injuries like yours, soak in it, or your injuries will recover. Hearing that, Xiao Huailin's eyes shone with a golden light, as though he had grabbed onto a life-saving straw, and said anxiously, There's actually such a place? Tell me, where is the spirit spring? I came here to look for the spirit spring, and it just so happens to be nearby. Why? Do you want to go? The fox demon laughed. How about I bring you there? Great, great. If there is a place like this, I cannot take the risk to travel. Xiao Huailin nodded his head and said happily, Quickly bring me there. All right then. Follow me. The fox demon laughed, then wagged her foxtail and walked forward. A warm spring flowed into Su Yun's body, nourishing the dry qi meridian, blood vessels, and flesh and bones. This feeling was extremely comfortable. When Su Yun regained consciousness, he could not help but open his eyes, only to see a middle-aged man with short hair and a square face sitting in front of him. The man's hands were pressing on Su Yun's chest. His eyes were closed as he urged his qi. Sensing that Su Yun had woken up, he opened his eyes and looked at Su Yun, slightly retracted his hand, then stood up and cupped his fist with a smile. Master Su, you're awake. Do you feel better? Who are you? Su Yun looked at the person in front of him suspiciously and asked curiously, Where is this? I am Feather Moon Pavilion's Vice Pavilion Master, Mo Ping. Lord Su is the protector of the Lotus Star Sword sect, so he is naturally still in the Lotus Star Sword sect. The middle-aged man with the square face laughed. Lord Su fought against the thief Xiao Huailin, fought against the ancient fierce beast Fire Dragon, and as an important minister of the Realm Lord, you hold the divine leaf, and have a respected status. So, I'm under the orders of the pavilion master to treat your injuries. Su Yun's position as a protector was actually nothing in the eyes of Yin Wen and the rest. Forget about the protector. Even if the old sect leader was compared to him, it would be useless. The Lotus Star Sword sect was not some big sect. If not, the Black Hawk cult would not bully and humiliate him like that. However, with the divine leaf in Su Yun's hands, the nature was different. The divine leaf represented the Realm Lord, which meant that Su Yun had the support of the Realm Lord. So it was natural for the Feather Moon Pavilion to save Su Yun. Su Yun nodded his head. Then I really have to thank Pavilion Master Mo for saving me. Hey, Master, you're too polite. Mo Ping laughed. Although you have a lot of injuries, they are not serious. The wounds are not fatal, but the consumption of profound strength is too great, and the Chi Meridian is slightly damaged. You should rest for now, and I will inform the Pavilion Master and the others. With that, Mo Ping left the house. Su Yun looked around the room and realized that it was the old sect leader's room. Thinking that the old sect leader was no longer here, Su Yun felt a trace of sadness in his heart. If not for the old sect leader, he would have died a long time ago. He sighed, sat down cross-legged, and began to meditate with his eyes closed. However, just as he was about to adjust his breathing, he was shocked. The profound chi in his body was many times purer than before, and the purity of the profound chi was even higher and denser. If the profound chi before was like a thin cloud that could be blown away by the wind, then the profound chi now was like a black cloud before a storm, suppressing the city and destroying the people. It was vast and boundless. Not only the profound chi, the Chi Meridian, flesh and blood, bones, tendons, spirit core, and so on had all undergone an unimaginable and miraculous change, becoming stronger and more powerful. What was going on? Could it be that after fighting with Xiao Huailin, his strength had increased by so much? Su Yun thought. He raised his right hand, opened his palm, and released a bit of profound chi, only to see a circle of white light appearing on his palm, and strands of immortal chi floated out, revolving around his palm. He gently held his palm and touched the profound chi. The profoundness and miraculousness of the profound chi was simply shocking. Third stage of Sky Spirit Master, suddenly jumping 3 grades. What was going on? Su Yun realized that with his current level of profound chi, it was already difficult for him to think. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something, and his shocked face quickly calmed down. Could it be the old sect leader's cultivation? It is extremely possible that before the old sect leader died, he had given himself all of his power. This might not only be a temporary buff to the profound strength, it could also be a type of technique similar to a technique. Although I did not obtain all of the old sect leader's cultivation, the remaining power is already very impressive. Su Yun dispersed the profound chi, took a deep breath, and sat cross-legged to recuperate. Thump! At this moment, light footsteps came from outside the house. Su Yun opened his eyes and saw a few spirit cultivator walking in. He had met the leader once when he was fighting with Xiao Huailin, and it was the Yin Wen who had grabbed Xiao Huailin with a single palm. Master Su Yun, are you feeling better? Yin Wen walked into the house and smiled. Thank you for your care. Su Yun is fine. Su Yun stood up and said, It's good that you're fine. Yin Wen nodded his head. He turned and nodded to Mo Ping, who was at the side, only to see Mo Ping bringing over a box and placing it in front of Su Yun. Master Su Yun, you have done a great service in protecting my Linglong Mountain. This is a gift from the Linglong Mountain. I hope you can accept it. Yin Wen laughed. Gift? Su Yun frowned. He extended his hand and opened the box, only to see 5 dark green beads inside. The beads were glistening and emitting a fragrance. It was obvious that they were not ordinary items. Why did you give me a gift? As a protector, I'm only doing my job. Furthermore, even if I do not make a move, Xiao Huailin will still kill me. Saying that, Su Yun looked at Yin Wen and the rest, and said, Pavilion Master, you should speak frankly. Hearing that, Yin Wen smiled, and, after a moment of silence, he said, Since Master Su Yun has said it like that, I will not beat around the bush. In fact, we all have questions in our hearts, and do not know how to ask. Now that Master Suyun is here, we will not be polite, and will tell you. May I ask, Master Suyun, did the Realm Lord send you here this time? Why did you come to the Linglong Mountain? It's just a private matter. Suyun said. Just a private matter? Yes. Suyun nodded seriously, but did not say much. Yanwen looked at Suyun and did not say anything. After thinking for a moment, he cupped his fists towards Suyun and said, Master Suyun, rest well. We will not disturb you any further. With that, he waved his hand and the group left. Seeing that, Suyun finally understood the intention behind Yanwen's gift. It turned out that Yanwen and the rest were worried that Suyun's trip to the Linglong Mountain was inspired by the Realm Lord. Although the Linglong Mountain was said to be a place that could not be governed by the Realm Lord, but in truth, the people here still respected the Realm Lord. Even the so-called saints had no choice but to act according to the Realm Lord's wishes. Suyun heaved a sigh of relief. He took out the divine leaf and looked at it, feeling that his head was in a mess. No matter what he needed to do now was to find his parents. Knock, knock, knock. At this moment, there was another knock on the door, and then a voice floated in from outside. Protector Su, are you awake? Chapter 593. Who? Suyun asked. It's Hua Tianwu. Hua Tianwu. Suyun thought for a while. Then a figure appeared in his mind. He smiled and said, Oh, it's you. Come in and talk. Thank you, Protector. Hua Tianwu said. He pushed the door open and entered. After walking in, he cupped his fists and bowed respectfully to Suyun, who was sitting inside the array seal. Tianwu, what's the matter? Suyun asked. It's like this, Protector Bu Ming and Protector Qing Wenlu have both died in battle, and our sect has no vice leader. Now that the sect leader has passed away, the sect needs someone to take care of all the matters, and the sect leader's funeral and the rebuilding of our sect will also need to be carried out, so everyone hopes that you can step forward and take charge of the sect. Hua Tianwu said seriously. Hearing that, Suyun frowned. He frowned, thought for a moment, then shook his head helplessly. Actually, when I first entered the Lotus Star Sword sect, it was only to deal with the Black Hawk cult and to repay the old sect leader's kindness. I have no intention of becoming the protector of the Lotus Star Sword sect. I still have important matters to attend to, so I will not stay in the sword sect. Hearing that, Hua Tianwu was in a difficult position. Protector, a country cannot be without a ruler for a day. A family cannot be without a master for a day. And my Lotus Star Sword sect cannot be without a sect leader either. If that's the case, wouldn't this huge sect be disbanded? Could it be that other than me, no one else can be the sect leader of the Lotus Star Sword sect? Suyun did not understand. No one can compare to you, Protector, in terms of prestige and strength. Hua Tianwu shook his head. Suyun laughed out loud. Prestige? I have heard that Hua Jingrue has been in the Lotus Star Sword sect for close to 100 years, and his cultivation has also reached the 3rd stage of the Sky Spirit Master. In terms of prestige and strength, you are actually not weaker than anyone else. Since I am not the sect leader, why don't you do it? Me? Hua Tianwu was stunned. Not bad. You're more suitable than me. Suyun laughed. I can't. Hua Tianwu waved his hand again and again, and said, the so-called prestige is not only the prestige within the sect, but also the prestige within the Linglong Mountain. If I am the sect master, I will definitely not be able to convince others. And if the sect master is too weak, I will inevitably be bullied by other sections. Perhaps in the future, people like the Black Hawk cult who will provoke and cause trouble will increase day by day. So, Protector, I still need you to be the sect master. Hearing that, Suyun rubbed his chin and thought hard for a while. Suddenly, he clapped his hands and said, Didn't my sect say that there is no vice sect leader position? How about this? You take the position of sect leader, and I take the position of vice sect leader. What do you think? Everyone in the Linglong Mountain knew that Suyun was a member of the Realm Lord. Although he was not a sect leader, being a vice sect leader had enough deterrence. At least he could ensure the peace of the Lotus Star Sword sect. Hua Tianwu opened his mouth, wanted to say something, but Suyun hit it off and said, Then it's settled. Suyun had made his decision. and Hui Tianwu could not refute it. After recuperating for a few days, he felt that he had recovered a lot. So he returned to the Lotus Star Sword sect and organized a reconstruction work with Hui Tianwu. The great battle with the Black Hawk cult and Xiao Huailin caused the Lotus Star Sword sect to suffer heavy losses. Many experts and people with important positions had died in battle. So Su Yun had no choice but to select new talents and select some people with both experience and talent to take up important positions. After most of the matters in the Lotus Star Sword sect were settled, Su Yun informed Hui Tianwu and left the Sword sect. In the past few days in the Sword sect, he had received many invitations from the sect leaderess of various sects, all of them hoping that Su Yun could go to the sect as a guest for a chat. This group of people only valued him for two things. 1. His identity as an important minister of the Realm Lord. 2. The powerful giant that killed Xiao Huailin, which shocked everyone. This magic tool was extraordinary. Everyone thought that there must be an expert behind Su Yun. If not, he would not be able to control such a powerful magic tool. No one would think that this magic tool was bestowed by the Realm Lord, because the strong qi emitted by the Devil Bone Spirit was Devil Qi, not Spirit Life Qi. Although Su Yun was not very willing to go, these sects had been entrenched in the Linglong Mountain for many years and knew everything about this place. Going to the various sects to ask about the whereabouts of his parents was definitely much more efficient than running around aimlessly. Su Yun visited a total of 13 families, chatting for a long time, but when he asked about Su Shintian and Shan Shueshue, no one knew, but with Su Yun's status as an important minister of the Realm Lord, these sects were still very willing to help Su Yun. As a result, the names of Su Shintian and Shan Shueshue spread throughout the entire Linglong Mountain, and many people knew that a person called Su Yun was looking for them. If the news were to spread, if father and mother knew, they would definitely know that I was looking for them, and they would definitely take the initiative to meet up with me. Su Yun thought. However, what made Su Yun extremely disappointed was that after wandering around the Linglong Mountain for half a day, there was still no news. All of the people that he entrusted either returned empty-handed, or the people he was looking for were just people with the same name, and were not Su Yun's parents. Helpless, he could only head to the last sect that he had yet to visit, which was one of the two top sects of the Linglong Mountain, the Feather Moon Pavilion. The Feather Moon Pavilion was located in the middle of the Linglong Mountain, not like the Black Hawk sect and the Lotus Star Sword sect, which were built on top of the mountain. The Feather Moon Pavilion was surrounded by green mountains and green waters. In the center, there were many jade pavilions and cranes flying in the air. It gave off the feeling of a celestial abode in the water-moon paradise. Su Yun's identity was now very different. The person that the people of the Linglong Mountain were talking about the most was him. So entering the Feather Moon Pavilion was smooth sailing. Master Su Yun, you're finally here. Pavilion Master has been waiting for you for a long time. A disciple of the Feather Moon Pavilion said to Su Yun with a smile, and then quickly led him into the pavilion. The buildings in the Feather Moon Pavilion were all pavilions, one after another, densely packed together. As far as the eye could see, there were probably hundreds of them. There were tall and short pavilions, and the ordinary disciples lived in the 3-story pavilions, while the disciples with higher cultivation levels lived in the 4-story pavilions. Pavilion Master Yin Wen and Vice Pavilion Master Mo Ping were 7 stories tall, and their pavilions were all at the innermost part. Su Yun passed through the pavilions, his eyes constantly looking around, scanning everything in the Feather Moon Pavilion. When he was brought to the pavilion where Yin Wen was, Yin Wen and Mo Ping were already waiting inside. Master Su Yun's arrival at the humble pavilion has truly brought light to my humble Feather Moon Pavilion. Master Su Yun, please come in. Yin Wen stood up to welcome him and said with a smile, Greetings, Pavilion Masters. Su Yun smiled and bowed, then sat down. Heart is in sync. Watch the tea. Yes, Pavilion Master. The disciple who led Su Yun into the Feather Moon Pavilion immediately retreated. Very quickly, a few cups of fragrant tea were served. After the tea, without waiting for Su Yun to speak, Yin Wen spoke first. I have already heard about Master Su Yun's matter. It is said that you are looking for Su Shintian and Shan Shueshue, right? That's right. Su Yun nodded his head. But until now, there's been no news. It really makes one feel helpless. Su Yun sighed. He could not activate the heavenly seeking treasure bell. He did not know if his parents were still in the Linglong Mountain. Master Su Yun has entrusted the experts of the various sects to help with this matter. It is not difficult to investigate the two of them, but there is no news for so many days, in my opinion. I am afraid that Su Shentian and Shan Shueshua are not in the Linglong Mountain. If they are, I am afraid that they have already changed their names. Just then, Mo Ping, who was at the side, spoke up. Hearing that, Su Yun immediately slapped his head and said, Pavilion Master Mo's words really hit the nail on the head. Maybe the two of them really did change their names, but if they knew that I was looking for them, they should have immediately come see me, but they did not do so. Oh, hearing that, Yanwen laughed. May I ask, Master Su Yun, what is the relationship between these two people and you? To tell you the truth, these two are my parents. Is that so? Yanwen and Mo Ping were surprised. They never thought that Su Yun was here to look for his father and mother. The two of them were silent. Su Yun cupped his fists and said, Feathermoon Pavilion is the #1 sect in the Linglong Mountain. I am afraid that Su Yun will have to trouble the two Pavilion Masters. I hope that the two Pavilion Masters can help me find news of my parents. If I can reunite with them, Su Yun will definitely not forget the kindness of the Feathermoon Pavilion. Master Su Yun, what do you mean? You have defeated Xiao Huailin and stopped the fierce beast Fire Dragon. So you are the hero of my Linglong Mountain. Since you have done our Linglong Mountain a favor, we will naturally help you. Yanwen waved his hand. Su Yun laughed. He did not say anything, but felt that Yanwen's words made him feel uncomfortable. But then again, Master Su Yun, although my Feathermoon Pavilion is not small, and other sects cannot compare to it, but to be honest, no matter how strong my Feathermoon Pavilion is, it cannot compare to the other sects combined. You have entrusted so many sects to help you investigate, but there is no news. I am afraid that even if we send out our men, it would be futile. Mo Ping said. That's right. Yanwen nodded in agreement. Su Yun's brows knitted together again. He had already thought of Mo Ping's words, but there was nothing he could do. He did not know how to continue. Could it be that he had to give up? Or the news that the heavenly seeking treasure bell gave him was actually fake? It shouldn't be. He had been in business for so many years. He had seen countless treasures. How could he be wrong? Oh, right. Just then, Mo Ping seemed to have thought of something and immediately called out. Su Yun and Yanwen immediately turned to look at him. I forgot about a place. Maybe Master Su's parents might be there, Mo Ping said in a deep voice. Hearing that, Yanwen's face became serious. He said in a low voice, Mo Ping, don't speak nonsense. Why would Master Su Yun's parents go to that place? Don't speak nonsense. Mo Ping opened his mouth, but in the end, he sighed and did not continue. But Su Yun's head was filled with fog. He looked at the two of them and asked impatiently, You two, what exactly is the place you're talking about? Yanwen was silent for a moment, as though he wanted to say it, but didn't want to. But since Su Yun was so impatient, he could only sigh and say, A place that does not belong to the Linglong Mountain. But I thought that Master Su Yun's parents would not be there. Chapter 594. Why is it impossible for my parents to appear there? Pavilion Master Yan, please finish what you have to say. What kind of place is that? Su Yun felt that something was wrong, but seeing that Yanwen's words were flickering, his expression was not right, as though he was afraid of this place. Could this place be the forbidden area of the Linglong Mountain? Yanwen hesitated for a moment, then shook his head and said, This place is called Dark Place. It is the most special place in the Wanhua realm, and also belongs to the forbidden area of the Wanhua realm. It is located at the bottom of the Linglong Mountain, and in fact, the reason why the Realm Lord does not enforce the laws of the other regions of the Wanhua realm is mostly because of the Dark Place. Dark Place? This was the first time Su Yun had heard of this word, and immediately asked, What kind of place is that? That is the darkest place in the Wanhua realm, and also the most chaotic place. Yanwen took a deep breath and said, In this world there is yin and yang, there is good and evil, there is light and there is darkness. The Wanhua Realm Lord hopes that the Wanhua Realm is a harmonious and happy world, filled with truth and beauty. She does not wish for any filthy places to appear, but in the end, this is just a realm. How can there not be evil and darkness? Thus, she sealed all the evil and filth in the entire Wanhua realm at the bottom of the Linglong Mountain, which was also the dark place. All the vicious creatures in the dark place had been imprinted by the Realm Lord, and they had completely lost the chance to step into the Wanhua realm. As long as they stepped into the Wanhua realm, they would be teleported into the dark place. This place belongs to the forbidden grounds of our Wanhua realm, and normally speaking, the people of the Linglong Mountain would not step into this place. Hearing that, Su Yun's face suddenly changed. Pavilion Master Yin, are you saying that my parents might have been sent to the dark place by the Wanhua Realm Lord? That's not what I meant. Yin immediately said, although the dark place is a place where the Wanhua realm hides its filth, it definitely does not mean that others are not allowed to enter. In fact, the Realm Lord did not restrict others from entering, and not only that, many people from the Wanhua realm have actually sneaked into the dark place. Enter the dark place? What? Is there anything else that attracts people here? Su Yun asked in amusement. Of course. Yin nodded his head seriously. The dark place also has another name. It is called the Door of Disorder because the entire dark place is actually a chaotic space. The reason why the Realm Master chose this place as the place to accumulate the darkness and filth of the Wanhua realm is also because of this. The entire dark place has a large number of twisted cracks. Some of them lead to the endless abyss, to the terrifying hell, and also to the unimaginable heaven on earth. No one knows where the end of the crack is, but what we know is that some people are able to go to the place they want to go through these cracks. And, as a result, some people want to leave the Wanhua realm and head to the more restrictive realms will choose to enter from the dark place. Oh, hearing that, Su Yun frowned. Combined with the matter of his parents searching for his sister, it was not hard to imagine that his parents might be heading to a certain place when they entered the dark place. It's just that no one knows where the crack leads to. So, some people never came back after entering the crack. Yin said again. Hearing that, how could Su Yun sit still? If his parents left the dark place through the crack, who knew where they would go? Su Yun had come all the way here to find his parents, so he was naturally worried about the safety of the two elders. He also wanted to meet the two elders, so he immediately stood up and said anxiously, Pavilion Master Yin, please quickly bring me to the dark place. Master Su Yun, it is inevitable that there will be some extremely vicious people inside. I think you should still consider carefully, is your father and mother really in the dark place? Is the information you obtained accurate? Yin did not seem to agree with Su Yun heading to the dark place and tried to persuade him. But at this time, Su Yun had already steeled his heart to go to the dark place, and no one could stop him. Pavilion Master Yin, if you are not willing to lead me down, then I can only find someone else. With that, Su Yun stood up and cupped his fist towards the two of them and quickly walked away. Lord Su, wait a moment. Yin immediately stood up and shouted anxiously. Su Yun stopped in his tracks and looked at him. Yin's expression changed, as though he had made a decision. After hesitating for about 7 to 8 breaths of time, he finally nodded and said helplessly, Since Lord Su Yun insists on going, then all right, Yin can only agree to your request and bring you to the dark place. In that case, Su Yun will thank Pavilion Master Yin. Su Yun smiled and cupped his fists. Yin stood up and said to Mo Ping, who was beside him, Mo Ping, quickly go and make the arrangements. In an hour, bring 50 of our sex elites and follow me to the dark place. I'll go prepare now. Mo Ping stood up and quickly left the pavilion. Waves of rapid breathing could be heard in the forest. Xiao Huailin, who had a big hole in his chest, moved his tired steps forward step by step. He was gasping for breath violently. His face was pale white, and sweat was dripping down his face like beans. Looking at the fox demon who was walking leisurely in front of him, a trace of anger flashed past Xiao Huailin's powerless eyes. He pulled out the blood-red slender sword from his back and shouted angrily, Hey, you fox spirit, are you lying to me? Why haven't we reached the spirit spring yet? Are you stalling for time? So you could drag me to death? Hearing that, the fox demon who was walking in front stopped in her tracks and turned to look at him. She blinked her big, watery eyes and said innocently, "No, why would I stall for time? Don't doubt me, okay? Then why isn't he here yet? Let me tell you, don't play any tricks. If I'm going to die, I definitely won't let you go. At the very least, you have to accompany me in death." Xiao Huailin snorted. "You're really unreasonable." The fox demon said helplessly, "I told you before that my purpose here is to find the spirit spring. I don't know the exact location of the spirit spring, but I know it's nearby. I haven't found it yet, have I? Can't you be a little patient? But if this goes on, I won't be able to hold on. How can I have the time to waste with you?" Xiao Huailin clenched his teeth and said. At this moment, he was powerless to speak. "Then there's nothing I can do. If you're really angry, then you can just kill me, but I have to remind you, if I die, no one will bring you to find the spirit spring, and your injuries will not be able to be controlled in a short period of time. Then you will also die. Think about it yourself. Do you believe that I will find a chance of survival, or do you not believe that I will perish together?" The fox demon said indifferently. Hearing that, Xiao Huailin clenched his fists tightly and said angrily in the end, "Cunning fox, stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and leave." The corner of the fox demon's mouth raised into an extremely obscure and complacent smile. Her eyes curved into crescent moons as she turned around and continued forward. "Hey, you said you want to go to the sword world. What kind of world is this sword world? Are you from this world?" The fox demon who was walking in front looked around and asked. "Of course I am from the sword world. The sword world is a world where swords are the most important. There are many experts there, and they're definitely not something that the people of the Wanhua realm can compare to," Xiao Huailin said arrogantly, but his voice was not loud, and his expression was still ugly, as if he was trying to save face. The fox demon glanced at him and asked, "Then why did you come here?" "Naturally, it's to learn, to gain experience, and also to collect some good treasures. Is the sword world not enough for you to cultivate?" The people of the sword world are different from the people of the Wanhua realm. If we were to say that they are similar, then maybe the experts in the upper half of the ultimate martial world are very similar to them. The people of the sword world do not pay attention to cultivation. They only have one way to cultivate, and that is to increase their cultivation through continuous challenges. All the fierce beasts in the entire realm have been killed by the people of the sword world, and every day there are countless battles going on everywhere. Because I am too weak, I am not suitable to cultivate in the sword world. So under my father's arrangements, I entered the ultimate martial world and plan to train for a while, and then return after my cultivation has reached a certain level. After that, I went to the Wanhua realm, and came to the Linglong Mountain to study, but I never thought that the people of the Linglong Mountain would be more despicable than the other. They would fight one-on-one, but they would bully me with numbers. This was not allowed in the sword world. Whoever interferes in a one-on-one battle will be immediately executed by the Saint Realm experts. Xiao Huailin said angrily when he was talking about the excitement. He pulled on his wound and started coughing violently again. When the fox demon heard this, she felt that it was extremely funny. This was the first time she had heard of this sword world. She did not expect the people of this world to be so interesting. "Speaking of which, why would your father be at ease with you coming here? And if I were your father, I would give you a lot of life-saving magic treasure, right? Is that all you have?" The fox demon asked again. Hearing that, Xiao Huailin's face flushed red. "Of course I have a lot of life-saving magic treasure. But this injury is very strange. Those magic treasure are all useless." "Is that so?" Speaking of which, how many people have you challenged since you came to the ultimate martial world?" "Not many. I roughly estimated that there are more than 100 great sages from the great powers." "Is there anyone powerful?" "Yes, but none of them can defeat me and the fire dragon. They were still eaten by my fire dragon, and those weaker ones called for help. I had no choice but to exterminate them all." "Then didn't you kill a lot of people? So what? The weak should die." Sigh. "Speaking of which, who was the one who injured you?" "It seems to be a guy from the Lotus Star Sword Sect. I remember that guy's name is Su Yun, Damn it, I will tear him into pieces one day. Su Yin, looking at his injuries, he should be quite powerful. It's just the result of the experts of the Linglong Mountain helping him. If it's a one-on-one fight, I'm not afraid of him. Xiao Huailin said unconvinced. All right, I know you're powerful. The fox demon covered her lips and smiled, and did not say anything else. At this time, the two of them passed through the forest and arrived in front of an empty space next to a mountain. In the middle of the empty space, there was a clear spring, and wisps of smoke were rising from the spring. Seeing that, a strange light flashed past the fox demon's eyes. She turned her head and smiled at Xiao Huailin, who was behind her. Great, we found the spirit spring. Chapter 595. When Xiao Huailin, who was rushing with his head lowered, heard the fox demon's words, it was like an extremely thirsty person hearing a river in front of him. He suddenly raised his head and shouted, Where? Where is it? Where is the spirit spring? After looking around a few times, the spirit spring in front of the fox demon immediately floated in front of him. Xiao Huailin was overjoyed. He could no longer care about anything else, and laughed as he ran towards the spirit spring. However, after running a few steps, Xiao Huailin could not help but stop in his tracks. His smile gradually stopped as he frowned. His gaze landed on the spirit spring and the side of it. There were a lot of things floating above the spirit spring. Upon closer inspection, they were actually human bones. Beside the spirit spring, there were a lot of bones lying in a mess. How did this look like a spirit spring? It was more like a pot of soup with human bones. Do you have any questions? Seeing that Xiao Huailin had stopped, the fox demon hugged her towering and full breasts, squinted her long and charming eyes, and smiled at Xiao Huailin. What's going on? Is this really a spirit spring that can regenerate flesh and bones from the dead? Why are there so many skeletons? Xiao Huailin felt that something was amiss. He held onto his sword tightly, stared at the fox demon, and said coldly, You already said that this is a spirit spring that can regenerate flesh and bones from the dead. Naturally, there are many seriously injured and sick people who come here. The fox demon laughed. However, these people are not too lucky. They must have died before they could even receive the treatment from the spirit spring. That's why you saw so many skeletons. Impossible, Xiao Huailin immediately retorted and said angrily. Even if a person dies, the soul will still be there, but I can't even feel the soul of another person in the vicinity. So, you must be lying to me. After these people die, even their souls cannot be preserved. They must have been killed by someone. Furthermore, the person who killed them is definitely you. You're wrong. I definitely did not kill these people. I can swear in front of you. The fox demon immediately said in a serious tone. Her watery eyes gave off a pitiful and innocent feeling. Then what's going on? Xiao Huailin immediately shifted his gaze away from the fox demon's big eyes and frowned. In the end, you still don't believe me? The fox demon pouted. How can I believe you in this situation? Xiao Huailin clenched his teeth and said. The fox demon rolled her eyes and giggled again. She looked at Xiao Huailin in ridicule, and then said with an indifferent look, Now that things have come to this, do you have any other choice? Either you believe me and take a gamble and enter the spirit spring to see if it has any effect, or you don't enter the spirit spring and wait for death here. Or you kill me and we all die together. In any case, no matter what, only death awaits you. After saying that, the fox demon covered her pink little mouth and giggled. Xiao Huailin's expression changed. What she said was right. Right now, he had no other choice but to believe her. If he didn't enter the spirit spring, with the injuries on his body, it wouldn't be long before he died. At that time, his body would be destroyed, and he would be devoured by the nearby spirit beasts and ferocious beasts with only his 3 souls and 7 spirits. The gains wouldn't make up for the losses. There was no other choice. Xiao Huailin clenched his teeth, turned his head, and stared at the strange spirit spring that was emitting smoke. In the end, he made up his mind and walked towards the spirit spring. Seeing that, the fox demon walked to the big boulder at the side and sat down with her butt raised. A big furry tail gently swayed as she looked at Xiao Huailin, who was walking towards the spirit spring in amusement. The dried bones, the rotting smell, and the bubbling spirit spring made the place look extremely strange. The more Xiao Huilin saw, the more he felt that something was amiss. He stared at the bones, only to see that some of the bones had already shattered. Like sand, they slowly disintegrated in the spirit spring. Some of them were extremely bright, as if they had just died not long ago. Suddenly, Xiao Huilin, who was close to the spirit spring, suddenly turned around, and with a speed that was close to teleportation, he suddenly landed in front of the fox demon. The fox demon opened her eyes wide, but before she could react, Xiao Huilin grabbed her fair neck and then threw her into the spirit spring. I don't know if you're trying to harm me, so just to be safe, you should go down first, Xiao Huilin said coldly. In order to stop the fox demon from resisting, he even added a burst of profound energy to push. The fox demon was like a kite with its string cut, falling towards the spirit spring. Very quickly, with a plop, it disappeared without a trace. Xiao Huilin immediately opened his eyes wide and stared straight at the spirit spring. A large amount of bubbles came out from the spirit spring, and then there was no other movement. But after a while, a pair of furry ears poked out from the spring, followed by the fox demon's cute and exquisite little head. Nothing? Xiao Huilin was startled. She glanced at Xiao Huilin seductively and laughed. You sure know how to enjoy yourself. You actually want me to accompany you to soak in the hot spring? Hee hee. All right. Since you have this intention, then I will listen to you. With that said, the fox demon extended her white, jade-like hand and hooked it at Xiao Huilin. Are you relieved now? Come quickly. I'm waiting for you. Seeing that the fox demon was fine, how could Xiao Huilin dare to hesitate? With rapid and intense breathing, he immediately took a step forward and ran towards the spirit spring. This time, he did not care about the bones inside and outside the spirit spring, and directly jumped in with a plop. However, the moment Xiao Huilin entered the spirit spring, a miserable scream resounded throughout the entire spirit spring. Ah! This voice came from Xiao Huilin. He was roaring hysterically. His miserable voice seemed to want to tear the entire mountain and rock apart. Xiao Huilin, who had fallen into the spirit spring, was quickly losing all of his flesh, and the substance on his chest that was maintaining his life also started to become unrestrained. Not long later, pieces of white bones started to be exposed. Xiao Huilin screamed miserably. He used his last bit of strength and jumped out of the strange spirit spring. How is this a spirit spring? It was simply a terrifying pool of corrosive water. He powerlessly fell to the ground. At this moment, both of his legs had completely turned into bones, and there was not much flesh left on his body. Only his head was still intact. It was all thanks to Xiao Huilin's high cultivation that a person like this was able to survive. Ha! Gao Yang's delicate laughter came from his side. Xiao Huilin turned his distorted face to look at the spirit spring, only to see the fox spirit flying out from the spirit spring. Her entire body was unharmed. Not only was she not injured, she did not even touch a drop of water. In that moment, Xiao Huilin understood. It turned out that the moment this cunning fox spirit fell into the water, she had used the profound qi to surround her body, isolating herself from the spring water's attack. You actually lied to me. Xiao Huilin gritted his teeth. That's right, I just lied to you, you big idiot. So what? Ha. The fox demon laughed even more complacently, her watery eyes filled with complacency. Seeing that, Xiao Huilin could no longer endure it and pressed his hand on his belt. In that moment, the fire dragon hidden in his belt surged out. A large amount of flames enveloped the inside and outside of the spirit spring, its roar shaking the heavens. Kill this despicable fox spirit for me. Xiao Huilin roared hysterically. The fire dragon was enraged. It opened its huge mouth and swallowed the fox spirit. That aura was not something that the petite fox could contend against. However, just as the fire dragon approached, a strange golden light suddenly blossomed from the fox spirit's body. This aura was extremely exquisite, like a divine technique that recorded tens of thousands of worlds, making it difficult for people to understand. The moment it appeared, It immediately dissolved the terrifying dragon might of the fire dragon. The fire dragon still did not have the slightest bit of fear. It bent down and charged towards the fragile creature. However, the golden light changed again. A huge golden claw emerged from the golden light and grabbed the fire dragon with an unparalleled might. Then, the huge claw smashed the fire dragon on the ground. The fire dragon was completely suppressed and couldn't move. Its flames scattered in all directions, and it lost all of its might. This is Dragon Claw. Xiao Huailin's pupils dilated a few times. This fire dragon shouldn't be a real existence. It's just an ethereal body. If I'm not mistaken, the fire dragon's heart or a wisp of its soul must be sealed in the belt around your waist. Am I right? But it's a pity that compared to me, your strength is still insignificant. The fox spirit giggled, her eyes filled with pride. Just who are you? Xiao Huailin roared with extreme hatred. Who I am has nothing to do with you. You just need to know that you have offended someone you shouldn't have offended. TSK, TSK, TSK. At first, I only targeted you because I wanted to snatch your exquisite cultivation. But later on, I never thought that you would actually provoke Big Brother Suyan. Since that's the case, then you deserve to die 10,000 times. As the fox spirit spoke, she raised her hand and pulled out a blood-red scimitar and walked towards Xiao Huailin step by step. When I take out your soul and spirit, I will refine it into my magic treasure, True Dragon City, and refine it into a Qi Dan, helping me cultivate and ascend. Hearing that, Xiao Huailin wanted to stand up and fight, but the fox spirit's cultivation was not weak. If Xiao Huailin was at his peak, he would not be afraid of the fox spirit. Even if he was heavily injured previously, even if he could not defeat the fox spirit, it would not be a problem for him to run away. But it was different now. His body was severely corroded, and a few of his Qi Meridian S had been corroded. What spirit spring? In the beginning, it was simply a non-existent existence. This fox spirit had long since set her eyes on him, planning to plunder his cultivation and plunder his magic treasure. The hatred in Xiao Huailin's heart overflowed to the heavens. He wished that he could immediately skin the fox spirit and torture her soul forever. But at this moment, all of this was just hatred. In reality, there was nothing he could do. Stop! You can't kill me. Xiao Huailin clenched his teeth. My father is the sect leader of All Empty Sect. All Empty Sect is a famous sect in Sword World. If you kill me, my father will definitely not let you off if he finds out. Ayaya, I'm so scared. The fox spirit patted her full chest, looking afraid. Just that, in the next second, the sharp scimitar directly slashed towards Xiao Huailin's neck. Without any warning, without the slightest bit of mercy, he killed without any hesitation. This method was more than just vicious. A poochie sound could be heard. Before Xiao Huailin could even react, he felt his neck light up, and his vision started to spin. Chapter 596. The Linglong Mountain was an extremely large mountain range, filled with cultivators and sects. It had existed in the Wanhua realm for an unknown number of years. People from the Wanhua realm would usually gather in the Linglong Mountain. It could be said that other than the Realm Tree, the Linglong Mountain was the most prosperous. However, those who had come to the Linglong Mountain for a period of time would all know that at the foot of the Linglong Mountain, there was a special place, and that was the Dark Place. When Su Yun followed Mo Ping to the entrance of the Dark Place, he realized that what Yin Wen said was not completely correct, because at the entrance of the Dark Place, he could see a large number of spirit cultivator going in and out. According to Mo Ping's introduction, there were a large number of spatial cracks in the Dark Place, and they were known as the Door of Disorder. As a result, many spirit cultivator wanted to borrow the Door of Dark Place to head to other realms, so there were many spirit cultivator-s at the entrance of the Dark Place. However, as the darkest realm in the Wanhua realm, the dangers in the Dark Place were not something an ordinary person could imagine. Every day, there were countless spirit cultivator who died miserably in the Dark Place, and if they were not killed by the vicious beasts inside, they would have mistakenly entered the crevice and disappeared. There were no laws or regulations in the dark place. The rules of the Wanhua realm and the rules of the Linglong Mountain were unable to govern the dark place. So this place was usually called a forbidden ground by the spirit cultivator, but it did not forbid the spirit cultivator from going there. Mo Ping and the rest brought Su Yun to the entrance and stopped in their tracks. Master Su Yun, this is the entrance to the dark place. Due to the rules of the pavilion, it is not convenient for us to enter the dark place. I am afraid that it will be difficult for us to help Master Su Yun. Please forgive us. Mo Ping cupped his fists. The dark place was too chaotic for the safety of the disciples. Yanwen did not dare to casually send disciples to help Su Yun search the dark place, so he was unable to help Su Yun here. But Su Yun could understand, although Yanwen gave him face, but this face was completely from the Realm Lord. His own face was not big enough for Yanwen to sacrifice his own people. It's nothing, since things have come to this. I, Su, should be thanking your esteemed sect for helping me. Su Yun returned the greeting. The two of them exchanged pleasantries. Su Yun was about to bid farewell and walk into the dark place. Mo Ping sent 2 disciples of the Feather Moon Pavilion to the side to guard the entrance. If Su Yun needed help, he could leave the dark place and inform the 2 disciples to inform Yan and Mo Ping. The entrance to the dark place was very strange. It landed in the middle of a large rock. This boulder was incredible. It was at least 100 meters tall, but it didn't look like a mountain or a peak. It was just a single boulder, and the crack seemed to have been cut in the middle. A pitch-black crack ran from top to bottom, extending from top to bottom. The crevice was filled with dense demonic energy and death aura. If a person entered the crevice, they would fall straight down, all the way to the bottom of the Linglong Mountain, which was the so-called dark place. Although the dark place was incomparably dark and filled with a large amount of strange qi, amongst these qi, the devil qi and evil qi were the strongest. Su Yun did not feel uncomfortable, but instead felt an indescribable sense of familiarity. Su Yun was truly shocked. Since when did he have such feelings towards devil qi and demonic qi? Now is not the time to think about that. After Su Yun landed, he looked around. At the same time, many spirit cultivator-s came in from the entrance, and his surroundings were already surrounded by a large number of figures. The noise was endless, like a market. Where did this little brother come from? Which realm are you planning to go to? I know the entrances to the cracks in the Meru realm, Green Bamboo realm, Matter Critical realm, and other realms. If you can afford the profound coin, I can bring you to the corresponding realm. Just then, a black and swarthy guy who looked like a devil cultivator walked over and grinned at Su Yun. Oh, how much is it to go to the Meru realm? Su Yun asked with a smile. 1,500,000 profound coin. The devil cultivator chuckled. So expensive? Su Yun was shocked. How is this expensive? If you enter the wrong crevice, you won't even have your life. You can pay 1,500,000 to save your life. Isn't that worth it? Devil cultivator asked. However, just as he finished speaking, another pitch-black fellow scurried over. Su Yun glanced at him. He seemed to be an evil realm cultivator. Don't listen to his nonsense. 1,500,000. Is he slaughtering a pig? Friend, come to me. 500,000 profound coin. I will bring you to the crack in the Meru realm. The evil realm cultivator said with a hoarse voice. Evil seeking, you're here to steal my business again, you despicable bastard. Devil cultivator frowned and said in dissatisfaction. I just don't like your way of doing things. Everyone wants to earn more profound coin to increase their cultivation, but you are too unreasonable, 1,500,000, to think that you can say it. The evil realm cultivator snorted. What does my business have to do with you? You're courting death. Devil cultivator was angry. He activated the devil chi and slapped towards the evil realm cultivator. The evil realm cultivator did not hesitate and activated his evil force to block. The two of them immediately started fighting. The crowd burst into an uproar as they scattered in all directions. However, other than a few spirit cultivator-s who had just entered the dark place, the others did what they had to do. No one paid any attention to the evil demon that was fighting. Su Yun was even more baffled. This place was truly a chaotic place to fight, just like that. Su Yun shook his head. He could not be bothered with the two fellows, and directly walked inside. The light in the dark place was dim, and it looked like an incomparably wide cave. However, the top of the cave was extremely high, about a few hundred meters high, and on both sides of the cave there were messy rocks, some big and some small, and many huge worms were stuck to the rocks. The ground was filled with corpses. Some had just died, and some had died a long time ago. Rather than saying that this was a chaotic place, it was more like a purgatory. Whiz! Just then, a figure flew over and directly fell in front of Su Yun's feet. Looking at this person, he was a young man in his 30s, but at this moment his lower body was gone, and fresh blood and internal organs flowed all over the ground. He twitched twice, his head tilted, and he died, his soul flying out. Su Yun retreated a few steps and pulled out the immortal mystical scarlet blood sword. Feeling that something was amiss, he pulled out the death sword. Not far away, a group of towering black figures ran over. These people did not look like demonic Shi cultivators, nor did they look like evil realm beings. They rushed over like hungry wolves, pouncing on their prey, grabbing onto the man's upper body and tearing it into pieces. They snatched the meat and stuffed it into their mouths. However, that person's 3 souls and 7 mortal forms were not spared either. The bodies of the worms that were attached to the stone cracked open, and a dark green, tongue-like thing curled towards that person's 3 souls and 7 mortal forms. Then, they withdrew into the person's body and disappeared. Seeing that, Su Yun frowned. After the huge fellows finished snatching the man's meat, they all smacked their lips, feeling that it was not enough, but one of them saw Su Yun and walked towards Su Yun, who was close to 3 meters tall. "You look unfamiliar. You must be new here. Hand over the money, or else you'll end up like that person just now." The man roared in a low voice, and a fist that was even bigger than Su Yun's head extended over. Su Yun looked at the man and asked, "How much?" "Pay as much as you have." "Oh, then I'm sorry, I don't have it." Su Yun laughed. With that said, he swung his arm like lightning, and the immortal mystical scarlet blood sword directly pierced the man's face. Poochie! Before that person could even react, a bright red sword was stabbed into his forehead. Roar! Seeing that, the rest of the big guys were enraged. They all rushed towards Su Yun. One after another, terrifying gigantic hands smashed towards him, intending to smash him into meat paste. But before these big guys could smash Su Yun into meat paste, an even bigger bone hand that was like a small mountain descended from the sky, directly smashing into the middle of the group of big guys. The person standing in the middle did not dodge in time, and was directly smashed into pieces, dying miserably. The rest of the people were even more confused and fell to the ground. Everyone looked, only to see that behind Su Yun, there was an incomparably large giant. The giant's aura was vast, the devil chi was unrestrained, and a pair of blood-red devil eyes stared coldly at them. These existences were scared out of their wits, and could not even stand straight. Su Yun kept the immortal mystical scarlet blood sword, and walked towards the big guys. "Come here," Su Yun bellowed. Hearing that, no one dared to hesitate. They all ran over and knelt in front of Su Yun. They knew that they had kicked an iron plate this time. If they were not careful, they might even lose their lives. This was how it was in the dark place. Dignity was not important at all. As long as they could survive, the people here could immediately submit. Su Yun glanced at the group of people. There were about 7 or 8 of them. Their cultivation should be at the 10th stage of the Spirit Master. He waved his hand and said indifferently, "You guys actually dare to rob me. You guys sure have guts, but I am in a good mood today, so I will not bother with you guys, and will let you guys go for now." Thank you, thank you." These big guys all kowtowed anxiously. "However, I won't let this matter rest so easily." Su Yun's face turned cold and shouted, "I order you all to find a person called Su Shuntan and a person called Shun Shueshue within 10 days. If you all do not find their whereabouts within 10 days, even if you all escape to the ends of the earth, I will capture you all and refine you all alive, understand? We will definitely find these 2 for you. We will definitely find them for you." Those big guys didn't dare to refuse, and hurriedly said, Very good. Su Yun nodded and said indifferently, "Do you guys have any way of contacting each other?" Communication basically depends on roaring. Su Yun was a little speechless. He rubbed his chin and said, "Then I will wait here for your news in 10 days. If you find the two of them, you must pay attention to their movements and tell them that someone called Su Yun is looking for them. Understand?" "Understood." "Then hurry up and do your work." "My lord, we will take our leave. We will take our leave." The group of big guys trembled as they spoke, and then, as if their feet had been smeared with oil, they ran away like a wisp of smoke. Seeing that, Su Yun heaved a sigh of relief, feeling helpless. Although he did not have much hope for this group of fellows, it was still better to let them do something than kill them. Su Yun snapped his fingers, kept the devil bone giant, and continued on his way. Chapter 597. As they headed towards the front of the dark place, the number of people gradually decreased, and the surroundings became more and more spacious. Other than rocks, there were only rocks. Su Yun suddenly thought of something. He kept the death sword and the immortal mystical scarlet blood sword, and pulled out the snow-white sword that was stored in the sword sheath. Lotus Star Sword. Although the Lotus Star Sword and its sword techniques had been passed down to Su Yun by the old sect leader, the current Lotus Star Sword was still a broken sword. The lotus flower seal on the sword had no color, only a mark. The old sect leader said that repairing the Lotus Star Sword requires more than 7 types of materials, and 2 of them are here in the dark place. These 2 materials are not rare or precious, so if you pay attention, you might be able to find them. Su Yun touched the Lotus Heart Sword's body. Thinking about the dead old sect leader, he sighed. "Help! Who can save me?" Just at this moment, a panicked and terrified voice suddenly floated into Su Yun's ears. Hearing that, Su Yun's nerves tensed up, and he immediately jumped over. 1,000 meters in front of him, a very young child who was not even 5 meters tall appeared in Su Yun's line of sight. The child's entire body was covered in blood. One of his arms was broken, and he fell to the ground. He looked forward in panic, and in front of him, a man wearing blood-red armor and holding a large machete was walking towards him step by step. Su Yun was wearing the Long Zhun's wristband, so the 2 of them did not notice Su Yun's existence. However, Su Yun did not make a move. Although this person looked like a child, he was still in existence with cultivation and had lived for an unknown number of years. He was not a real child, and those who could come here were not ordinary people. Furthermore, the child was already beyond saving. His chi meridian was broken and his heart was shattered. He probably wouldn't be able to hold on for long. The man in the blood-red armor slashed at the child with his blade. The child's vital point was hit, his head was broken, and he died on the spot. Seeing this, the armored man walked forward and rummaged through the child's body for something. He ignored the soul that floated out from the corpse. Fights and killings could be seen everywhere in the dark place, so it was nothing strange. The fighting here was either for the sake of desire or for the sake of benefits. Su Yun looked at him a few times, but did not pay attention to him and turned to leave. But just as he moved, the man in the blood-red armor seemed to have sensed something. He suddenly pulled out his blade and rushed towards Su Yun. The blade released dozens of blade chi-s, smashing the stone in front of Su Yun into pieces. The blade chi broke through the stone and struck his body, but Su Yun was not satisfied. The 7th-tier Imperial equipment was instantly released, blocking all of the blade chi. "You actually discovered me?" Su Yun was shocked. His aura was perfectly concealed, so how did the other party sense his presence? The soul worm on your rock was scared and moved away. Soul worms are lazy creatures, so they don't usually move. They only move when someone gets close. That's why I'm sure there's someone behind this rock. The man in crimson armor said coldly. How meticulous. Su Yun thought. What? Are you trying to snatch the key to the sword prison? Anyone who has designs on me must die. The blood helmet man said coldly, then rushed towards Su Yun and slashed with his blade. I'm just passing by, Su Yun quickly said. However, the other party did not listen to his explanation. His attacks were like a torrential storm that could not be stopped. Seeing that, Su Yun had no choice but to draw his sword and fight. He had just arrived at the dark place, and had already fought and fought. He was a little tired, but in this kind of chaotic place, it would be strange if it was peaceful. At the foot of a huge mountain stood a middle-aged man dressed in a dark green, luxurious robe. He had a solemn appearance and an ancient appearance. The man looked at the mountain as if he was deep in thought. This mountain was incomparably pitch black, and there were countless swords stuck upside down on the mountain. Some of the swords were glistening and resplendent, while some of the swords were rusted and incomplete. The entire mountain was like a hedgehog, appearing spectacular and strange. Kacha! The stone was stepped on. A figure is slowly walking towards them. The man tilted his head slightly, but did not make a sound. He did not even look at the person behind him. The person looked extremely hesitant. Looking at the middle-aged man in front of him, he opened his mouth and said in a low voice, "Swordmaster." "What is it?" The middle-aged man said indifferently. That person's voice was trembling. He opened his mouth for a long time before a voice came out. Young master, something has happened." I knew it when the jade bracelet broke. The middle-aged man closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and said indifferently, "Swordmaster, please restrain your grief." The man respectfully knelt on the ground and cried, "My condolences?" The man opened his eyes and said in a low voice, "What's the use of mourning? Tell me, what's the use of mourning? Can you bring Huai Lin back to life? Can you?" He clenched his hands tightly, and his expression began to contort and become sinister. "That person is too vicious. It's one thing to kill Huai Lin, but he didn't even leave his soul behind. Who is it? Who dares to be so vicious? How dare you?" He slowly roared out, his voice filled with hatred and hysteria. It was as if he had been suppressing himself all this time, but now he could no longer suppress it, and this anger was completely released. The person could only kowtow to the ground, not even daring to raise his head as he listened silently. The middle-aged man suddenly turned around, pointed at the person, and shouted coldly, "Huai Lin is buried in the Wanhua realm. Quickly pass down my edict. Issue it to this sword-seeking sect, Star Sword Pavilion and Luo Tong sect, and have them quickly come to the sect to meet me. These sect masters and sect leaders are all my old friends. They will definitely not remain silent. In addition, inform Madam of this matter, and have her invite the experts of the Cloud Heavenly Palace to assist her. This time, I want the Wanhua Realm Lord to give me justice. If she does not hand over the person who killed Huai Lin, I will make the Wanhua Realm restless." Ah! The roar resounded throughout the entire Sword Mountain. Bang! A muffled sound came out from the rocks in the pitch-black dark place. A blood-red figure suddenly flew out, smashing into several large rocks and falling to the ground in a sorry state. The figure spat out a mouthful of blood, and his injuries were extremely severe. This person was the Blood Helmet Man who had attacked Su Yun earlier. He was only at the first stage of the Sky Spirit Master, but to Su Yun, who currently possessed 44,000 fighting strength and was at the third stage of the Sky Spirit Master, defeating him was as easy as flipping his hand. "Don't kill me. Don't kill me. At most, I'll give you the key." Seeing Su Yun walking towards him step by step, the Blood Helmet Man panicked and shouted anxiously, "I say, are you sick? I didn't plan to touch you in the first place. You were the one who didn't know right from wrong and insisted on fighting me." Su Yun said helplessly, but hearing the Blood Helmet Man's words, Su Yun could not help but become interested and asked, "But what exactly is the key you are talking about?" When the Blood Helmet Man heard this, he was slightly startled. "You don't know this key?" "I don't know anything, but now I know. Tell me what this key is, and maybe I can let you go." Su Yun used his sword to press against the Blood Helmet Man's throat and said. The Blood Helmet Man swallowed his saliva, hesitated for a moment, then said, "This is the key to open the nameless prison." It is said that in the southern part of the dark place, there is a nameless prison. There are many treasures in the prison. There are countless profound coin-s and magic treasure-s, allowing one's cultivation to advance by leaps and bounds. But the nameless prison is enchanted by the supreme expert. If there is no key to open it, the enchantment will never be opened. So everyone is searching for the key, hoping to find the key to obtain the treasures. But there is only one key, and it is this. 1. The spirit cultivator that I killed just now is a habitual thief. He can find many things that are difficult to find. I have been watching him since 100 days ago. I know that I will definitely not be able to find the key, but he might not necessarily be able to. Sure enough, 9 days ago, he dug out a skeleton from the ground in front of the prison door, and this skeleton holds the key to open the prison, which is why I chased after him. The man in the blood-red armor said, then handed the key over to Su Yun with a trembling hand. What I said is true. I'll give you the key. I hope you won't kill me. Although I am not an upright person, I can still be considered a trustworthy person. Don't worry. If I say I won't kill you, I won't kill you. Su Yun took the key, looked at it carefully, then moved the sword away and said to the man in the blood helmet, All right, you can go now. Thank you, my lord, thank you. The man in the blood helmet crawled up in a sorry state, bowed to Su Yun, then turned and left in a hurry. However, after taking a few steps, he extended his hand and secretly released a bit of profound qi, and the corner of his mouth raised into a sneer. Seeing the profound qi overflow, the key in Su Yun's hand exploded with a dong sound, and a golden iron chain instantly appeared, and with lightning speed, it tightly bound Su Yun's body. What are you doing? Su Yun revealed an extremely surprised expression and stared at the man in the blood helmet. Unexpectedly, the man in the blood helmet laughed sinisterly. Stinking brat, aren't you being tricked too easily? Do you really think I would hand over the key to you so easily? In order to prevent anyone from stealing the key, I have already made preparations. I prepared a fake key in advance, and it was specially used to deal with you people. With that, the man in the blood helmet did not hold back and slashed towards Su Yun with his broadsword. The golden chain that bound Su Yun was abnormally strong. No matter how much strength Su Yun used, he could not break it. At this time, with his hands tied, what could he use to resist the man in the blood helmet? However, Su Yun did not panic. When the blood-helmeted man rushed over, a huge iron fist suddenly slammed down, ruthlessly smashing into the blood-helmeted man's body, directly making him dizzy. Then, the iron fist grabbed his body tightly, and a huge force crushed the blood-helmeted man's armor into pieces. He let out a painful scream and looked over, only to see a huge giant appearing in front of Su Yun. I knew you wouldn't hand the key over to me so easily. Fortunately, I was prepared, Su Yun said indifferently. Taking advantage of the time when the man in the blood helmet was being held back by the devil bone giant and the golden chain was loosening, he slightly exerted his strength to shake it away, and then activated the profound qi, causing the giant to increase its strength. The giant let out an angry roar, and its strength suddenly increased, crazily suppressing the man in the blood helmet. With a poochie sound, the man in the blood helmet was crushed to death. Chapter 598. The blood helmet man died, and the giant threw down a lump of rotten meat. Su Yun found a space bag and started rummaging through it. Very quickly, a key that was emitting a dark green light appeared in his hand. It was unknown what material the key was made of, but it looked very mysterious. However, the surface of the key had an indescribable fragrance, and it gave off a feeling of vitality. Overflowing with life? Could it be that it was made by a supreme expert of the profound qi? Su Yun thought. Who cares? Since he came to the dark place, it was more important to find his parents first. With the key, he would have the chance to retrieve the treasure in the future. In any case, with the barrier around him, he was not afraid that someone would take away the treasure inside. As Su Yun walked, he stared at the heavenly seeking treasure bell. There were still 7 days before he could use the heavenly seeking treasure bell again. He had to confirm it again. If his parents were still in Linglong Mountain, then they would most likely be here, and if they were not, then he would have to spend a lot of effort to find them. Along the way, all sorts of strange and dazzling creatures appeared in front of Su Yun's eyes, and all sorts of chaotic battles also appeared one after another. Here, Su Yun had seen the cruelest side of human nature and also the most tragic side. It was hard to imagine that the Wanhua realm above was filled with truth, kindness, and beauty, filled with harmony and the radiance of humanity, while the purgatory below was such a terrifying place. Was this the so-called yin and yang? Yin and yang? In order to avoid fighting with those powerful, vicious beasts, Su Yun would choose to avoid fighting whenever he saw a vicious beast or a person with a strong cultivation, and try his best to take a detour. This continued for a few days, and Su Yun felt that he had almost forgotten where he was. Ding-ling! Just as Su Yun was stepping on the pitch-black and ice-cold ground, he continued to move forward. Waves of strange bells rang out in front of him. He frowned and scanned the area in front of him, only to see that it was empty. There was nothing there. No one. Was it just my imagination? Su Yun thought, but he still slowed down his walking speed and became more cautious. After walking for about the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, a small river appeared in Su Yun's line of sight. The dark place was dark, and the water in the small river was also pitch black. What Su Yun was concerned about was that this was a stream of water, but he could see corpses floating past the surface of the river. You seem to be looking for something? Just as Su Yun was sizing up the river, a voice came out from the other side. Su Yun tensed up. He immediately retreated and pulled out his sword. On the other side of the river was a skinny old man with a skeleton walking stick. The old man was dressed in tattered linen clothes with a bell hanging on his waist. His bean-sized eyes were looking up and down at Su Yun. Although the old man looked very thin and weak, Su Yun did not dare underestimate him. Even though they were so close, he could not sense even the slightest bit of profound qi from the old man. His cultivation was probably extremely terrifying, and he was very different from the people he had met before. "Who are you?" Su Yun asked cautiously. "I'm just a passerby." The old man smiled. "Since we're passers-by, let's go our separate ways. Why did you stop to talk to me?" "I just saw that you seemed to have something to do, so I stopped to see if I could help you." The old man smiled, revealing a mouthful of yellow teeth. Su Yun's mind moved and asked, "How do you know I have something to do? Your expression tells me that if there's nothing wrong, your expression wouldn't be so unnatural, and your eyes wouldn't be so messy." The old man chuckled, his turbid bean-like eyes emitting a strange light. "Even if I have something to do, what can you help me with?" Su Yun shook his head and said, "That depends on what you need me to do for you." The old man extended his hand that was like dry firewood, rubbed his fingers at Su Yun, and laughed. "This old man doesn't do anything to kill people. Other than that, I can solve anything. There's no mistake in finding me, of course. There's also a fee." As he spoke, the old man laughed sinisterly. After Su Yun heard this, he was stunned for a long time and only reacted after a while. This old fellow was a businessman. He sized up the old man again, then asked, "You said that other than killing people, you can solve everything else? Is that true?" This old man has been in the dark place for a long time. Some of the experts in the dark place are quite familiar with me. They gave me a nickname, Old Omnipotent. This old man has his own abilities, knows everything in the world, understands the past and the future. Young man, if you don't believe me, this old man can prove it. How could you prove it? Up to you. The old man laughed, looking extremely confident. Seeing that, Su Yun thought for a while and said, "Then do you know what my cultivation is?" Wearing Long Zhan's wristband, unless there was a magic treasure that specialized in breaking through the concealment of qi, others would definitely not be able to see through Su Yun's current cultivation. However, as soon as he said that, the old man waved his hand and said without even thinking, "Third grade of Sky Spirit Master. Young man, can't you ask a more difficult question?" Su Yun was completely speechless and also completely shocked. He never thought that the old man would be able to see through his cultivation level. Did this old man really have some skills? It seemed like he couldn't ask two simple questions. If the old man's cultivation was high and he had a magic treasure that could break through Long Zhan's wristband, then this question would be the same as not asking. He thought for a moment, then directly removed the sword sheath from his waist and stood on the ground. He pointed at the sword sheath and said, "Do you know how many swords are in this sword sheath?" This question was not simple. Those who did not know anything about the sword sheath did not know how many there were. This time, the old man knew that he had encountered a difficult problem. He only saw him cross the river and walk towards Su Yun. Su Yin was slightly vigilant, but seeing that the old man's gaze was focused on the sword sheath, he was slightly relieved. Let's wait and see. The old man walked to the side of the sword sheath and circled around it. His bean-sized eyes suddenly opened, and, after looking carefully, he actually touched it with his withered hand. Seeing that the old man's originally calm and composed appearance had become a bit hot, Su Yun's face became nervous. He anxiously took out the sword sheath and hung it on his waist, and said vigilantly, "Are you done looking? Do you want me to open it and let you count the swords inside?" "Count? I'm afraid I can't count it." The old man retracted his gaze and shook his head with a helpless smile. "Oh, what do you mean?" Su Yun frowned. He felt that the old man seemed to recognize the limitless sword sheath. "There's so many swords inside. If I go and count them one by one, wouldn't that be making things difficult for an old man like me?" The old man tapped the bone staff with his finger and said with a sinister smile, "Young man, you're too unlucky. I was lucky enough to see this sword case of yours before, so I naturally know how many swords there are in it." "You've really seen it before?" Su Yun was shocked. "That's right, this sword sheath is the sword sheath used by the limitless sword ancestor. It is truly miraculous. I never thought that after so many years, I would actually meet this sword sheath again. Could it be that there is some sort of arrangement?" The old man said. But the current Su Yun was already shocked. He never thought that anyone he met in the dark place would recognize the limitless sword ancestor. Could it be that the old man had already been to the Wanhua realm? Where was he now? Was he alive or dead? Where had he been? What cultivation level was he at now? Su Yun did not understand, and felt more and more confused. But this time, Su Yun understood the old man in front of him should be capable. He immediately bowed and said, "This junior has eyes but did not recognize Mount Tai. I have offended you before. Please forgive me." AI, there's no need to be like this. Young man, I'm just a merchant. Everything I do is just to earn some money to spend. You don't have to be like this. In any case, if you ask for anything later, I will charge you, so you don't have to feel embarrassed. The old man helped Su Yun up and laughed. It was really realistic. Su Yun thought, but he did not stand on ceremony, and said, "Since Senior has said so, then Junior will not stand on ceremony. May I ask, Senior, do you know the whereabouts of Junior's parents? What are your parents' names?" The old man asked. Junior's father, Su Shuntian, and mother, Shun Shue, have left Junior for many years. Junior thought that his parents had already died, but later on, someone told me that his parents were still alive, so I came out to look for the whereabouts of the two elders, hoping to reunite with them. Su Yun cupped his fists and said, his eyes filled with desire. He truly hoped that the old man would be able to tell him the whereabouts of his parents. Although the heavenly seeking treasure bell was good, but the location given was too vague. Even if it was a Linglong mountain, it was still surprisingly big. He was alone. How long would it take for him to find them? The old man pondered for a moment, then suddenly took off the big bell hanging from his waist and placed it on the ground. He also squatted down, one hand holding the skeleton staff against the bell, the other pressing down on the ground. He closed his eyes, and his bark-like mouth began to move. Leaping heart and bones moved the heavens, raising the sacred koan. There is no flow of dirty water in the dark of the road, gradually drying up the divine. As the awkward words floated out, the skeleton staff in his hand suddenly started to move strangely. Following that, the bell on the ground started to tremble, and circle after circle of grayish-white waves of chi floated out from the bell like ripples, spreading far and wide. Su Yun stood quietly at the side and watched. He knew that the old man was casting a spell. However, what kind of spell could have such a miraculous effect? To be able to capture the location of others? Was this old man really that capable? Who was he? A series of questions shrouded Su Yun's heart like a cloud. The bell continued to ring. Su Yun peeked through the gap and saw a pair of pitch-black tiny feet, as though there was a little person inside. The old man muttered to himself, as though he was a Taoist priest, and his expression became more and more solemn. He suddenly clapped his hands and knocked on the bell, shouting, "Ding!" The bell stopped ringing, and the grayish-white aura that was being emitted in all directions also stopped. Everything returned to normal. The old man crawled on the ground and placed his ear on the bell to listen for a while. He nodded repeatedly, then stood up and looked at Su Yun with a face full of smiles. "Senior, do you have any results?" Su Yun asked. "Yes." The old man chuckled. Chapter 599. Hearing that the old man already knew where his parents were, Su Yun was overjoyed. His emotions suddenly became agitated, and he immediately asked, "Where are the two elders now?" About this, the old man chuckled. His eyes narrowed into slits and said, "If you want to know, you have to pay first." Su Yun was startled. "How much?" However, the old man stretched out a finger. 100,000 profound coin. "All right." Su Yun nodded. No. 100,000 profound coin? The lowest business I've ever done is 700,000 profound coin. The old man shook his head. Could it be 1,000,000 profound coin? Su Yun frowned. He did not have that much money on him right now. If he really wanted to take it, he would have to return to the ultimate martial world and ask for it from Heiyu. It's 10,000,000 profound coin. At this moment, the old man uttered a price that would shock everyone to death. Hearing that, Su Yun was stunned and only regained his senses after a long while. He slapped his thigh and shouted, 10,000,000 profound coin? Old man, are you trying to steal money? This time, Su Yun did not even care about the honorific title. He was simply an unscrupulous merchant, opening his mouth wide and asking for 10,000,000. Even if he wanted to find Heiyu, he would not be able to take it out in a short period of time. Young man, 10,000,000 profound coin is definitely worth it. After all, these two are the two most important people to you. Don't you want to see them earlier? The old man smiled and said, "What's more, the divine art I just used is not simple. Normally, it is not allowed to be used. Once this divine art is used, it must cost more than 10,000,000. However, I know that 10,000,000 cultivation coins should be nothing to you. Not cheap? How did you know? Could it be that this old man knew that he was the alliance leader of the ultimate martial worlds, Beiyang region?" Then, the old man pointed at Su Yun and laughed. "I can smell that special scent on your body. If I'm not wrong, it should be the key to that great treasure deposit. Take this key to find the treasure deposit, and when you get the money, come to me to exchange for the whereabouts of your parents. Isn't that right?" It turned out that the old man had already sensed that Su Yun had snatched the key from the Blood Helmet Man. "So you already knew?" Su Yun secretly placed his hand beside the sword sheath. The old man seemed to have sensed Su Yun's intentions and immediately said, "Young man, don't be nervous. I've told you before, I'm not the kind of person who would kill for money. I earn money purely based on my conscience. Although you have the treasure key, I'm not interested in it at all. I really don't see how you have any conscience. How can I take out 10,000,000 in such a short time? You want me to look for treasures? Do you think I can easily obtain treasures just because I have the key?" Su Yun shook his head. "With the key, why can't we obtain the treasure easily? Those who don't have keys are still thinking about the treasures. You really? Did you know that the spell I just used consumed my lifespan? Every time I use this spell, it consumes my lifespan. That's why I asked for such a high price. What's my goal? Wasn't it just to earn more cultivation coins and raise his cultivation so that he could live longer? If you don't pay 10,000,000 cultivation coins, I'd rather waste my lifespan than tell you the whereabouts of your parents. All right, brat, either bring the money or leave. Make your choice." The old man seemed to be rather impatient. It seemed like he only recognized money. Hearing that, Su Yun had no other choice. He took out the key and said, "Since that's the case, how about I exchange the key with you? You could take the key and go treasure hunting yourself." No. There's so many people who are thinking about the treasure, and it's inevitable that some people will have crooked thoughts along the way. I told you before that I won't kill, and in order to avoid fighting, I can't go treasure hunting either. Furthermore, I only want real gold and silver. No matter how precious the other things are, I don't want them. After the old man finished speaking, he sat on the ground and chuckled at Su Yun, waiting for his reply. "I really don't know what to do with you." Seeing that, Su Yun shook his head and sighed helplessly. He could only turn and leave, preparing to look for the treasure before looking for the old man. However, Just as he turned around, the old man behind him suddenly shouted, "Wait!" Su Yun stopped and turned to look at him suspiciously. The old man suddenly opened his eyes, ran to the back of Su Yun's butt, and touched it. "What are you doing?" Su Yun turned pale with fright. However, Su Yun saw that the old man was grabbing onto the order badge hanging on his waist and started to look at it carefully. This order badge was just a very simple pass, and the person who gave him the order badge was the realm master of the Wanhua realm. The old man looked at the order badge carefully, then raised his head and stared at Su Yun seriously. "You are from the realm tree?" "Not really, but I am acquainted with the realm master." Su Yun asked curiously, "What's wrong now?" The old man put down the order badge, placed his hands behind his back, and circled around Su Yun. "What is your relationship with the realm master? Why are you asking this? Don't worry about it. Just say it." "That won't do. I can say it too." Su Yun rubbed his fingers and said without any conscience, "I have to collect money." When the old man heard that, he immediately flew into a rage. You actually dare to extort me? Is this considered cheating? Aren't you the same? If you want to know, then pay. I won't force you. One is willing to fight, and the other is willing to suffer." Su Yun shrugged his shoulders. "You?" The old man stomped his feet in anger, but in the end, he had no choice but to snort. All right, don't play any tricks with me. At most, I'll just reduce your 2 million. You only need to pay me 8 million. Hurry up and tell me what your relationship with the Realm Master is. If you don't say it, at most I won't ask. You won't be able to buy my information even with 10 million. At least 20 million. Hearing that, Su Yun did not dare to push his luck. He grinned. "Old man, before that, can you first tell me about your relationship with the Realm Master? Only after you explain your relationship will I be able to answer you." "Heh, are you afraid that I will harm you?" The old man seemed to know Su Yun's worries. He shook his head and snorted. "I am not the enemy of the Realm Master. To tell you the truth, I was an important minister of the Realm Tree in the past, and the profound technique that I used previously was also a divine technique passed down from the Realm Tree. Ordinary people cannot learn it. Don't worry. Even if you're close to the Realm Master, I will not harm you. Is that so?" Su Yun was slightly surprised. He did not expect the old man to be from the Realm Tree. He thought for a moment, then took out the divine leaf and showed it to the old man. When the old man saw this, he was stunned. "Divine leaf? You should know better than me what this means." Su Yun kept the divine leaf. The old man started to ponder, as if he was recalling something. After a long while, he sighed and said indifferently, "I never thought that you would actually have the divine leaf. Forget it. Forget it. I let down the people of the Realm Tree back then. Today, I met you who has a close relationship with the Realm Master." The old man shook his head and said, "The current location of your parents is the location of your key, which is also the location of the treasure. If you take the key and go to the location of the treasure, you should be able to find your parents. That's it. Hurry up and go." Hearing that, Su Yun was shocked. He did not expect the old man to reveal the news so easily, nor did he expect that his parents would actually be located at the location of the treasure deposit. Why did his attitude change so quickly when he saw the divine leaf? Who exactly was this old man? Su Yun took a deep breath. His mind was in a mess. But the most important thing right now was not the old man's identity, but the whereabouts of his parents. So he asked again, "Where are they? Could it be for treasure hunting? Who knows? If I use this divine technique to find people, I can only deduct a few days of my lifespan. If I want to know a person's movements, I can deduct several years or even dozens of years of my lifespan. Moreover, this divine technique can't be used at any time. If I use it too much, my body will collapse and my soul will dissipate." "I can't answer your question anymore," said the old man. Su Yun nodded and cupped his fist towards the old man. "No matter what, old man, thank you." "No need to thank me. I also have a favor to ask of you. If you go back and see the Realm Master, can you help me pass on a message to her? Tell her that I, Ku Rong, do not wish to leave the dark place, and only hope that the people of Realm Tree can forgive me." That's enough. So this old man was called Ku Rong. Su Yun thought, then nodded. "If I am able to see Realm Master again, I will definitely pass the message to Senior." The old man nodded and waved his hand. "All right, quickly go find your parents. Farewell." Su Yun cupped his fists then took out his flying sword and stepped on it as he rushed forward. He never thought that he would meet such a strange old man on the road, and never thought that the divine leaf of the Realm Master would actually give him so much convenience. From the old man's words, he might have made some unforgivable mistake, and thus was punished in the dark place, never to return to the Wanhua realm. But Suyin did not care about that anymore. After knowing the whereabouts of his parents, he was extremely excited. Like a meteor, he flew in the air, straight towards the location of the treasure deposit. The Blood Helmet Man had told Su Yun the exact location before. Although he was not familiar with the dark place, it was still very easy to find the location. It should be this direction. It's going to be very soon. Su Yun stared ahead and muttered. When they were about to reach the nameless prison where the treasure was, they could already see many people on the road. There were evil realm people, devil cultivator, spirit cultivator, and so on. All sorts of strange existences were heading toward the nameless prison, but without a doubt, those who came here were not good people. Among them, there were many existences with astonishing auras. Even when Su Yun sensed this aura, he could not help but have a serious expression. What were father and mother doing here? Weren't they here to find his sister's whereabouts? Could it be that his sister was here? Thinking about it, Su Yun could not help but increase his pace. Finally, a gigantic skeleton appeared in his line of sight. The skeleton seemed to have sunk into the sky above the dark place, connecting to the entire dark place space and sitting on an extremely spacious flat ground. Evil chi leaked out from the surroundings of the bones, and around the bones, a large number of figures appeared. The scene was extremely noisy and chaotic. Seeing that, Su Yun flew into the air, his gaze sweeping around. In order to make his parents pay attention to him, he even took off his cloak. Father, mother, your child is here to look for you. Father, mother. Su Yun looked around and shouted. However, the surroundings were extremely noisy. He shouted a few times, but there was still no movement. But Su Yun did not give up. As he flew, he shouted and wandered around, hoping to attract the attention of Su Shintian and Shun Shue. Ah, child, father is here. At this moment, a strange voice came from below. Chapter 600. Hearing that, Su Yun turned his head to look, only to see a fat, big-eared and sturdy devil cultivator laughing at him. When devil cultivator's words fell, his companions around him immediately laughed out loud, and the ear-piercing noises rang out nonstop. F***CK, your mother. Su Yun was enraged. He immediately flew down with his sword, wanting to kill this group of devil cultivator. But just as he landed, an arm pulled him back. Don't be angry. There are so many Supreme Expert here. If you act recklessly and anger the Supreme Expert, you will only bring about a fatal disaster. A deep voice came out. What a familiar voice. Hearing that voice, Su Yun's entire body trembled. He suddenly turned around, only to see a man dressed in a plain yellow Blade Master outfit standing beside him. The man looked middle-aged, his skin was slightly dark, he had a goatee, and his hair was black with a hint of white. He was tall and had an ancient expression, and there were wrinkles on his forehead. His eyes were deep, like two bottomless ancient wells, as if they contained countless stories. On the right side of his face, there was a cross-shaped scar, which was very eye-catching. Father, seeing the middle-aged man, Su Yun's eyes became sluggish for a moment, and then he exclaimed in joy, "It's really you." Su Shintian was also startled. He looked at Su Yun carefully and realized that other than his pale white skin, the young man in front of him looked exactly the same as his son, Su Yun. Previously, when he was in the crowd, he saw Su Yun flying in the sky. Previously, he did not believe it, but now that he came closer to confirm, he never thought that this young man was really his son. Father, I've finally found you. Su Yun hugged the middle-aged man fiercely. He felt as if an intense wave had been set off in his heart. It was difficult to calm down, and endless joy was like honey surrounding his heart. Yun! Su Shintan opened his mouth. He looked at Su Yun. A trace of sorrow and guilt flashed past his deep eyes. He raised his hand, wanting to caress Su Yun, but his hand was placed in the air and did not move down. How could Su Shintian have thought that the hedonistic, ignorant, and lazy Su Yun would come here. How long had it been? To be able to come here, one had to be at least a Sky Spirit Master cultivator. Su Yun had advanced to the Sky Spirit Master? Su Shintian simply couldn't believe it. He carefully looked at the young man in front of him, looked at him again, and finally confirmed that this was indeed Su Yun, his son. I didn't expect this. Who would have thought? Yunner, you actually came here. You've grown up. Su Shintian was extremely moved. His face was also filled with pleasant surprise. Su Yun laughed and sized up Su Shintian. Compared to before, he did not have much of a change, but the vicissitudes of life in his eyes had deepened. Dad, where's Mom? Your mother? Shue. She's at the entrance of the unnamed prison. Quick, come with me and let your mother see you. She'll definitely be overjoyed. With that, Su Shintian brought Su Yun towards the entrance of the nameless prison. At this moment, a large number of people had gathered at the entrance. They were all squeezing towards the entrance of the prison, as if there was something delicious inside. Su Shintian led Su Yun through the crowd and quickly approached the door. Su Yun asked curiously, Father, why are there so many people gathered here? What are they doing here? What else can we do? Inside the nameless prison are treasures left behind by the ancient supreme expert. They are naturally here for the treasures. Su Shintian laughed. But if they don't have the key, they definitely won't be able to enter. What are they doing here if they can't enter? Isn't that a waste of time? Su Yun said. I told you before, there are a few supreme experts here. In fact, the supreme expert only came a while ago. It is said that these supreme experts had an agreement before and decided to work together to break the barrier of the prison and then divide the treasures inside. These spirit cultivators that are blocking the way all hope to take advantage of the chaos, fish in troubled waters, and get some oil. Su Shintian said. Hearing that, Su Yun nodded. Yunner, why are you here? In the end, Su Shintian could not help but ask. Su Yun was silent for a moment, then said, When I see my mother, I will tell you in detail. Sure. Su Shintian nodded and then quickened his pace. As they approached the entrance of the nameless prison, they saw a woman wearing a light yellow dress, with long hair and fair skin walking towards the two of them. The woman held a sword in her hand. Her hair was tied up in a bun, and there were a few crow's feet at the corner of her eyes. Her eyes were pitch black and full of charm, and a trace of indescribable shrewdness flashed in the depths of her eyes. This was Su Yun's mother, Shun Shue. Shintian, is that Yunno? Shun Shue walked over and asked anxiously. Obviously, she had noticed it before. However, no matter what, she couldn't believe that the young man was her son. One had to know what kind of place this was and who his son was. The extremely dangerous dark place, to the people of the Sky Martial Continent, was simply like 18 levels of purgatory. Any one of the existences here, if placed in the Sky Martial Continent, would be able to summon the wind and summon the rain. Why would his playboy son come here? Did he have that kind of cultivation? But without waiting for Su Shintian to speak, Su Yun walked over and called out excitedly. Hearing that, Shun Shue immediately sized up Su Yun, and when she realized that this person was Su Yun, she was completely stunned. After a long while, she finally regained her senses and said excitedly, Yunner, is it really you? Oh my God, why are you here? I received news that father and mother are still alive, so I tried my best to find father and mother. Su Yun took a deep breath, calmed the waves in his heart, and said with a smile. Hearing that, a look of guilt flashed past Shun Shue's eyes. She held Su Yun's face and looked at it carefully, and said with some sadness and helplessness, Yunner, father and mother have let you down. Why say such words? How could a father and mother apologize to their son? Furthermore, you did not do anything wrong. You did all of this to find your sister, didn't you? Su Yun laughed. Shun Shue's eyes flashed with emotion, and she was speechless. Su Shintian looked at Su Yun, then looked at Shun Shue and sighed. All right, there are too many people here. Let's go to the side and talk. Yunner, tell us everything that has happened in the past few years, and also, how did you get here? Right. Yunner, quickly tell your mother about it. It's been hard on you all these years. Did anyone bully you? Mother will definitely help you teach them a lesson. Shen Shue immediately said. Hearing that, Su Yun laughed bitterly. Father, mother, I've been living a good life all these years. You don't have to worry, but before I answer your questions, can you answer one of mine? Shen Shue and Su Shuntian looked at him at the same time. What question? When did I have a sister, and when did she leave the Su family? Su Yun asked seriously. With that said, Shan Shue and Su Shintian's expressions immediately froze. The two of them looked at each other and suddenly became silent. Seeing that, suspicion surfaced in Su Yun's heart. He felt that his parents were hiding something from him. The two people in front of him were definitely not wrong. Although they hadn't seen each other for many years, how could they not recognize their own parents? What's more, they had recognized him. Su Shintian and Shun Shue led Su Yun to the side of the nameless prison, and the two of them remained silent. Shun Shue's expression was a little pained. Along the way, she held on to Su Yun's hand tightly, as though she wanted to say something to her. But every time she opened her mouth, she would not be able to say anything. Seeing that, Su Yun's heart was conflicted and helpless. Finally, Su Shintian could not hold it in any longer, and directly said, Yun'er, this is a long story. It will be very difficult to explain it to you in a short period of time. If there's a chance in the future, we will explain it to you in detail. What we should do now is to think of a way to enter the nameless prison. Enter the nameless prison? Why? Could it be that father and mother also want the treasures inside? Su Yun asked in a daze. Treasure? Even if there are peerless treasures inside, we don't care. Shan Shue laughed bitterly and shook his head. Yun'er, what we care about is the expert imprisoned inside. An imprisoned expert. The more Su Yun heard, the more confused he became. But after hearing Shan Shue and Su Shintian's explanation, Su Yun suddenly understood. It turned out that a few years ago, due to some accident, Su Shintian and Shan Shue had accidentally lost their daughter. However, they did not lose their daughter in the Sky Martial continent, but in another realm. As for which realm, Shan Shue and Su Shintian did not say clearly. The two of them failed to find their daughter, so they could only give up. They believed that their daughter had most likely been killed. However, after a period of time, the two of them received news that their daughter was not dead. Not only was she not dead, she was also protected by a powerful sect. Now, she was a disciple of that sect, and her cultivation was not ordinary. When the two of them received the news, they were naturally relieved. However, when they found out that their daughter had entered the sect, they were shocked. We must let her leave that sect, otherwise. When Shin Shue said that, he stopped and sighed. Su Yun frowned. Although his parents did not explain many things to him, it was not good for him to ask any further. His parents had their own plans, and if they did not explain it to him, they would definitely have their reasons. Yun'er, please forgive us. Back then, we left without saying goodbye, causing you to misunderstand us. We were also anxious to find your sister, and when we found out that your sister had entered such a sect, we were extremely anxious. Su Shintian sighed. Su Shintian's face was filled with guilt, but he did not know that after he and Shan Shue left, Su Yun's days in the Su family were getting worse, to the point that he could no longer survive. However, Su Yun did not care about all of this. Whether he lived well or not depended on his own efforts and not on his parents. What will happen if I enter that sect? Su Yun hesitated for a moment, then said softly, There are many drawbacks. Just this point alone is enough to make people tremble in fear. Shan Shue said worriedly. It is said that after joining that sect, all of them will become bloodthirsty and heartless. Let me ask, which parent would be willing for their child to become like this? So, your father and I are thinking of ways to save her. Can't you just tell her directly? That sect is extremely powerful. We can't even enter the mountain gate. So how can we meet her? Furthermore, I'm afraid she won't leave so easily. Then what are your plans? The supreme expert imprisoned in the nameless prison might be able to help us. So your father and I came here to save that supreme expert and have him help us deal with that sect. So that's how it is. Su Yun nodded. However, the one who created this enchantment is the previous realm lord. No one would be able to break it easily. It isn't a simple matter to enter the nameless prison. This time around, a few extremely powerful fellows came. They planned to join forces to break the enchantment and divide the treasures inside. Your mother and I are prepared to wait for them to break the enchantment and save that supreme existence. However, I'm worried that some of these experts are here for that supreme existence. Su Shintian said. Hearing that, Su Yun grinned. Father, Mother, you don't have to worry. We could just rush in before they break the barrier, right? Yunner, what nonsense are you talking about? If we could go in earlier, would your father and I still need to wait until now? Shun Shueshua asked curiously. Su Yun took out a dark green key from his storage ring and laughed. With this, won't we be able to enter ahead of time? This is? The two of them widened their eyes in astonishment. Chapter 601. Looking at the key in Su Yun's hand, Su Shintian was still unable to recover from his shock. After carefully examining it for a while, he realized that it was indeed the original item. Yinner, how did you get the prison key? Su Shintian was shocked and could not help but ask. I obtained it by chance. Su Yun laughed, and then told the two elders everything that had happened between him and the Blood Helmet Man. When Su Shintian and Shan Shueshua heard this, they were truly moved. This was truly a matter of luck, a matter of opportunity. Good, 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 great, as expected of my son. With this key, your sister will definitely be saved. Shan Shueshua happily pulled Su Yun's hand and said, right now, the two of them had a headache and were worried about entering the prison. They didn't expect that the moment their son arrived, the biggest problem would be solved. How could they not be happy? Although I haven't met my sister much, we are still family after all. How can I not help her? Father, Mother, you must have suffered a lot in the past few years. Let me share the rest with you. Su Yun said seriously. After we bring back my sister, we will return to the Sky Martial Continent and reunite with Qing'er to share the joy of our family. Qing'er? Hearing that, Shan Shueshua remembered and asked, is Qing'er all right? She's fine. Su Yun nodded his head, but his expression darkened, and he sighed. All these years, Qing'er has suffered a lot, and has also suffered a lot. When my sister returns safely, I will definitely treat her well. It had been a while since Su Yun had seen Qing'er, and it would be a lie to say that he did not miss him. He didn't know if Qing'er had come to the ultimate martial world, but it should be very easy for the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace to come to the ultimate martial world. Hearing that, Shun Shueshua immediately laughed out loud. How about you marry Qing? All right. Su Yun agreed without any hesitation, and even more so without any sense of embarrassment. Shun Shueshua was a little surprised. She had seen it with her own eyes. In the past, Su Yun would beat and scold Qing'er, and was extremely disgusted with her. Why did his attitude change so much now? He then heard Su Yun talk about Qing'er, the Su family, and the profound sky sex matters, which made him speechless. After Shan Shueshua and Su Shintian heard this, they both went silent. Perhaps the two of them never thought that there would be so many stories behind this, and even more so, they never thought that Qing'er, at such a young age, would have such deep thoughts and responsibilities. A girl like this should indeed be cherished. Yunner, you must not let her down. Su Shintian said in a serious tone. I understand, Father. Su Yun said. However, what surprised me even more was you, Yunner. Su Shintian said again. He looked at Su Yun from head to toe and sighed with emotion. The current you has changed too much, do you know? If you hadn't come looking for me, perhaps I wouldn't have dared to recognize you. The current you is like a completely different person. You seem more mature and steady, especially your cultivation base. Yin what's your current cultivation base? Su Yun was wearing the Long Zhan's wristband, and the two elders were actually unable to see through their son's current strength. Su Yun laughed. He took off Long Zhan's wristband, and his chi leaked out. When the two of them smelled the scent, their faces changed. 3rd grade of Sky Spirit Master. It seems like father and mother's cultivation isn't low either. Su Yun asked. Su Shintian hesitated for a moment, then nodded his head. Your mother and I both have the strength of the 7th stage of the Sky Spirit Master. 7th grade. Su Yun was silent. His parents were so strong. Were they really people who came out from the Su family? If he did not have the memories of his previous life, and did not have the consecutive fortuitous encounters with the limitless sword arts, he would definitely not have his current cultivation. Could it be that his parents also had a fortuitous encounter? Su Shintian seemed to have seen through the doubts in Su Yun's heart, and said helplessly, "Sai, Yin'er, I know that you must have countless of questions to ask right now, but the time is not right. When the time is right, I will explain everything to you clearly." Su Yun nodded and did not speak anymore. After knowing about his parents, Su Yun also decided to help. After all, it was related to his sister's safety, and he believed that over time, he would know everything. All right, there's no time to lose. Shintian, let's go to the nameless prison first. If there's anything else, we'll talk about it after we meet the supreme expert. Shun Shueshua said. Yes. Su Shintian nodded, then stood up, and the family of three headed towards the nameless prison. The entrance of the prison was surrounded by powerful existences. They were circling in front of a huge and pitch-black array, as if they were drawing the array. Father, is this the array formation prepared by the supreme expert? Su Yun looked through the gaps in the crowd and asked. That's right. Su Shintian nodded his head and said solemnly, this array has been set up for a full 7 months and was drawn by 100 third-stage sky spirit master cultivators. These people include demons, devils, humans, ghosts, evil beasts, all sorts of powers gathered, and their power is unimaginable. Hearing that, Su Yun frowned and thought, with so many different powers gathered together, aren't they worried that the power will be too chaotic and cause a backlash? This is what the experts are doing. These Sky Spirit Master experts are setting up formations, and they are synthesizing this power. Su Shintian said. So that's how it is. The three of them approached the entrance of the nameless prison, but at this moment, the entrance had already been completely sealed by the experts, and no one was allowed to approach. Su Yun wondered if he should create some commotion to lure these people away. Just then, Shun Shueshua leaned over and took out a jade green fan. With a light wave, an intoxicating fragrance silently floated out, and the people who smelled the fragrance all felt their eyelids twitch, but they did not fall asleep. After a while, their heavy eyelids opened again, and they regained their senses. Mother, what technique is this? It's an illusion technique that I learned in the sect, and the effect is even stronger through this illusionary treasure fan. Right now, they have all entered an illusion and will not be able to regain their senses for a short period of time. However, once the illusion is lifted, they will definitely sense that someone is using it. Let's not waste any time. Let's hurry up and go in, while those people don't notice us. Shun Shueshua said. Su Yun nodded, without hesitation. He immediately took out the key and walked towards the door. The nameless prison's door was very strange. It was a circular hole, but the hole was sealed by a barrier. In the center of the hole, there was a stone sword. The hilt of the sword had a groove. When Su Yun inserted the key into the groove, the stone sword immediately shook, and a small hole immediately appeared in the enchantment. The three of them immediately ran in, and the enchantment quickly closed up. The few experts standing in front of the black array were the first to come to their senses and immediately looked around vigilantly. Someone is using an illusion technique. A demon king with bull horns and armor all over his body said in a low voice. I can smell the source of the illusion technique. It seems to be floating out from the side of the prison gate. A dog-headed man walked over and stared at the door for a while, his brows slightly furrowed. The aura has disappeared, but there's nothing strange about the door. What the hell is going on? The few experts were suspicious, but their vigilance would not let them give up. The Oxhorn Demon King immediately sent people to investigate, and at the same time, sent more subordinates to prevent them from getting close to the door. Outside the nameless prison, the commotion returned. And inside, Su Yun and the other two followed the pitch-black hole and walked inside. Although Shun Shueshua had only casually used an illusion technique, Su Yun was already incomparably impressed. To be able to paralyze even those experts, his parents' strength was truly not ordinary. Father, mother, are you from the Su family? After walking for a while, Su Yin asked a question that he had wanted to know the answer to from the very beginning. Hearing that, Shan Shue and Su Shintian could not help but look at him. After a long while, the two of them looked at each other, and Su Shintian spoke. No. When the two simple words came out, Su Yun's heart could not help but thump violently. If his parents weren't, then he probably wouldn't be related to the Su family by blood. I've hidden it from you for so long. I'm sorry, Yun'er. Actually, the reason why your father and I were in the Su family back then was because we were escaping from our enemies, and the reason why your sister was separated was also because of that enemy. Shun Shue said with a face full of guilt. Su Yin shook his head. Mother, don't say it like that. Yun'er understands that you guys have your own difficulties. No matter what, we will be reunited as a family soon. Su Shintian laughed. Yes. He nodded and resolutely walked forward. He felt that very soon he would be able to bid farewell to all these disputes and live a peaceful life that was aloof from worldly affairs. As long as he could find his sister, he would immediately go find Qing'er and return to the Sky Martial Continent. He would no longer care about anything in the 10,000 realms. The three of them walked forward. The road was dark and narrow, but after walking for the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the road in front of them forked, and two pitch-black holes appeared in front of their eyes. According to the information I received, it's on the left. At the end of the road on the right is the treasure that those greedy people outside yearn for even in their dreams. Let's not bother about it, Su Shintian said to Shun Shue, then quickly ran towards the left side of the road. Su Yin stood in place. He hesitated for a moment, then suddenly placed the sword sheath behind him on the ground, and quickly followed. The road on the left was still pitch black, but the road slowly opened up, giving off a feeling of suddenly being enlightened. Slowly, a strange and sharp aura rippled in the air. This aura was like a blade or a sword, extremely sharp and suffocating, as if it would cut open the throats of the three of them in the next second. Traces of sharp swords appeared on the surrounding roads. It was extremely strange. As they continued to walk forward, they could see swords made of vapor, qi either stabbed into the ground or stabbed into the walls, like crystals or jade artifacts. What a sharp sword qi. Could it be that this imprisoned supreme expert is an expert sword user? Su Shintian said. I don't know. Shun Shue shook her head. Su Yun, who was following behind, looked at his parents, only to see that although the two of them said that, they did not reveal any discomfort towards the qi. In fact, Su Yin did not feel any discomfort. If it was any other third-stage Sky Spirit Master cultivator who walked here, they would have long been unable to breathe and would have fallen to the ground, but he did not. The reason was simple. He had a very special feeling towards this qi. A sense of intimacy. This qi was very similar to a mystical qi that he had mastered. It was the Spirit Lord qi. Su Yin quietly looked at it. This did indeed seem to be the Spirit Lord qi. Could it be that the person who was imprisoned had some sort of connection with the Limitless Sword sect? Su Yin thought. Chapter 602. With that thought in mind, Su Yin walked forward with some apprehension. At this time, a gentle force suddenly wrapped around his body, isolating him from the sharp aura that lingered in the air. With a glance, this power came from Shun Shue. Shun Shue smiled slightly and said, Yun'er, although your cultivation is very strong now and you have already stepped into the Saint Realm, this aura is not something that can be endured by ordinary people. Mother will help you, don't worry. Hearing that, Su Yin nodded his head, his heart warm. Very quickly, the road came to an end, and a huge light screen once again appeared in front of the three of them. The light was completely white, like a layer of frost. However, in the middle of the frost, there was a dark green mark. The mark was shaped like a green leaf, and it was very beautiful. The sharp sword qi came from this light screen. In front of the light screen was a stone tablet. There were words on the tablet. Although it was unknown when it was erected, the words were very clear. The vicious soul is ruthless. Since it has been suppressed forever, it must not be opened. Otherwise, The people will be plunged into misery and suffering. Su Yin stared at the words and muttered, "This stone tablet must have been created by the previous realm lord, and the seal was also set up by her. To break this seal, I'm afraid it will take a lot of effort." Su Shintian said, "Father, who exactly is the one imprisoned inside?" Su Yin asked, "A peerless expert. It is said that he has the ability to penetrate the heavens and earth, and his connections are extremely wide. If we can save him and get him to help us, we will definitely be able to save your sister." Su Shintian said, "But according to this stone tablet, the supreme expert inside is probably extremely vicious. Don't be afraid. This is just a misunderstanding." Su Shintian said. Su Yin did not make a sound. Maybe his parents had already investigated this person before. If not, they would not have come to find him. Shun Shue took out a large amount of materials from the space bag on her body and started to draw an array formation. Su Shintian also moved with her. The two of them skillfully constructed something, and in a short while, a strange square array appeared. Although the array had not been activated yet, the ruthless chi that leaked out from the array caused Su Yun's heart to palpitate, and he was afraid that this chi would not be able to be controlled by someone who was above the 5th stage of the Sky Spirit Master. After the formation was completed, Su Shintian stood in the middle of the formation. His hands formed a seal, and he chanted, as if he was activating something. Rings of golden light overflowed from the surface of his body. The golden light was like a rope wrapping around his body. Soon, it transformed into a golden helmet of light. Su Shintian took a deep breath, his eyes suffused with the golden light as he stared at the snow-white light screen. Suddenly, his aura sank, and he suddenly rushed over. Almost at the same time he sprinted, the grand formation under his feet suddenly disappeared, turned into a white light, and shot into his back. When the white light entered his body, it was as if his entire body had been elevated. In that moment, Su Yun felt as if a god had appeared. Dong! Su Shintian's shoulder fiercely smashed into the light screen. In that moment, the light screen shattered, and a large amount of sword chi poured out like a tide. Su Yun and Shin Shue were forced to retreat by the terrifying sword chi, and anxiously urged their chi to block. The surging tide of sword chi lasted for about 10 breaths of time before it stopped. The two of them looked over and saw Su Shintian standing in the middle of the broken light screen. The golden light helmet on his body had already disappeared, and he was panting heavily, his face covered in sweat. Su Yun's nerves tensed up. He stared at the pitch-black place behind the light screen, and quietly pulled out the death sword from his back. Shun Shue did not dare to be negligent, and carefully looked at the pitch-black place. "Oh!" At this moment, a slightly surprised voice sounded out from the darkness. Following that, a chuckle came out. "I never thought that after so many years there would actually be someone who would come here to see me. Not bad, but you guys don't have spirit life chi on you. You don't look like people from the realm tree. Who are you?" With that said, Su Shintian anxiously cupped his fists and bowed, and said respectfully, "I am Su Shintian. I have come to save Senior." "Why did you save me?" The voice came again. Su Shintian hesitated for a moment, then said, "I have a request for Senior, so I came to save you." "Haha, I knew it. I don't even know you. So why did you come to save me? How can there be such a good thing in this world?" The voice laughed out loud. Su Shintian did not dare to refute, and still cupped his fists and bowed. "Senior, please help me." Fine. It's not easy for you to come here. I believe you've put in a lot of effort. Since you've let me out, I'll let you think about it. First tell me what exactly is going on. If I can help you, then I'll leave this prison. If I can't help you, then I'll be too embarrassed to come out." The voice laughed. Hearing that, Su Yin could not help but think, this person is so honest. Hearing that, Su Shintian opened his mouth. "My daughter accidentally entered the Supreme Sect. In order to save my daughter's life, I hope that Senior can help and bring my daughter away from the Supreme Sect." "What? Supreme Sect?" When the voice in the darkness heard this, its voice became slightly more serious. "Why would she enter this sect?" "At that time, I was forced to do so," Su Shintian said helplessly. I do not wish to see my daughter sink deeper and deeper. But my wife's cultivation is shallow. It is impossible for us to be a match for the people of Supreme Sect. So we can only do this. Hee. I think you should just give up. The voice in the darkness laughed and said, once you enter the Supreme Sect, you will be isolated from the world and cut off from everything. In their eyes, there's only the great Tao that can be sought. I think you should just treat it as if you didn't give birth to your daughter. No way. Without waiting for Su Shintian to speak, Shan Shueshua immediately became anxious. She took 3 steps forward and said excitedly, Senior, please save my daughter. I don't want to lose her. Please save my daughter. I beg of you. With that, Shan Shueshua actually bent his knees and knelt down. Seeing that, Su Shintian did not make a sound. Why are you doing this? The voice in the darkness was surprised. If Senior is not willing to help, my husband and I will definitely not leave this place. Shan Shueshua's attitude was exceptionally resolute. Seeing that his mother had already knelt down, how could Su Yun still stand there and remain indifferent? He immediately went forward, wanting to help Shan Shueshua up, but Shan Shueshua's attitude was firm. He had no choice but to kneel down as well, and said, Senior, you are extremely powerful. There must be a way. Can you point out the way? Say my sister? Just as Su Yun said this, the voice in the darkness let out a light sound and did not answer Su Yun's words. After a long while, the voice came out. Kid, where are you from? Where are you from? Su Yun was startled. Shan Shueshua and Su Shintian were even more suspicious. Senior, why are you asking this? Su Yun did not understand. Don't waste words. Hurry up and tell me, where are you from? The voice in the darkness seemed to be anxious. Seeing that, Su Yun could only say, people of the Sky Martial Continent. Sky Martial Continent? The voice was silent for a moment, as if he was thinking about something. A moment later, the voice came out again, you come in. Hearing that, Su Yun looked at Shan Shueshua and Su Shintian. Shan Shueshua was still suspicious, but Su Shintian extended his hand out and stopped Su Yun. Don't go in, he said in a deep voice, then shouted into the darkness. Can I go in? I only want him to come in. You are not allowed to enter, or else you will have to bear the consequences. The voice became serious. Su Shintian's face immediately darkened. A glint flashed past his eyes, as though he was dissatisfied with his words. Father is afraid that he will harm me? Su Yun could not help but laugh. Although we came here to seek his help, to be honest, I don't know much about this person. Yunner, if we can't go, then we can't go. If he really can't do it here, then we can just think of another way. Su Shintian said. That's right, Yunner, don't go in. Shan Shueshua also anxiously pulled Su Yun's hand and said. But Su Yun still smiled. He shook his head and said, Father, Mother, you have done so much for my sister. It is enough. Let me do some things for my sister. We have a favor to ask of him, so we should trust him. With that, he broke free from Shan Shueshua's hand and walked inside. Yinner, Shan Shueshua called out anxiously. But Su Yun had already entered the darkness and disappeared. Seeing that, Shan Shueshua bit her lower lip, her face filled with sorrow and helplessness. Sigh. Su Shintian sighed, his brows filled with worry. Tianlang, is it really okay for us to do this? Shan Shueshua lowered his head and said, There's no other way. We owe Yinner too much. Su Shintian said helplessly, How should we explain this to him in the future? I can only take it one step at a time. In the darkness, there are endless sword chi. These sword chi were like blades, constantly cutting Su Yun's body, causing one's hair to stand on end. It was extremely terrifying. Su Yun looked around and carefully advanced. The death sword in his hand also slightly tightened. Senior, he called out softly. However, the surroundings were quiet. There was nothing here. It was very empty, but the owner of the voice could not be seen. Su Yun continued to walk forward. He was already very far from the entrance. So at this moment, a large number of piercing sounds came from the sky. Following that, countless chi swords flew over like arrows. Seeing that, Su Yun immediately took out his imperial equipment to block. The chi sword struck the imperial equipment, causing the Imperial Equipment's barrier to be shaken to the point that it was on the verge of breaking. What suicide wish? What Xiao Huailin? Compared to this terrifying attack, they were simply insignificant. In an instant, Su Yun was drenched in sweat, his face was pale white, and he found it hard to persevere. He raised his head and stared at the direction where the Qi sword was flying from, only to see a dim figure appear in his line of sight in the distance. This person held a sword art with one hand and stood there quietly. He was as unmoving as a mountain and was looking at him lightly. Were these Qi swords controlled by this guy? Su Yun thought. He immediately turned and dodged to the side. In the instant that he dodged the Qi swords, he threw the death sword in his hand out, activated the Imperial Equipment, and, at the same time, activated the limitless sword arts, urging the death sword to strike towards the figure. Whiz! The death sword turned into a pitch-black ray of light and fiercely rushed towards the figure. Sovereign King's sword? Not bad, not bad. I never thought that there would be someone who could control him. When the figure saw the incoming death sword, he smiled. With a wave of his hand, the Qi sword dissipated, and the death sword that was flying towards him also stopped in midair. Chapter 603. Such a strange scene had truly shocked Su Yun. Sovereign King's sword? You know that the death sword is the Sovereign King's sword? Su Yun was stunned. Who exactly are you? Who am I? The figure smiled slightly. Before I answer this question, let me ask you, where did your sword come from? This. Su Yun hesitated. However, without waiting for him to say anything, the man directly spoke. Did you obtain it from the limitless sword sheath? You know about the limitless sword sheath? Su Yun frowned. Who the hell are you? Me? The man withdrew the profound qi around his body and walked out from the darkness. It was a white-clothed, white-haired man. His long hair hung down to his shoulders, and his expression revealed a trace of sharpness. He was handsome, and his figure was extremely tall. However, when Su Yun saw the man's appearance clearly, he felt that he was familiar. A figure flashed across his mind, and when he compared it to the figure, Su Yun instantly understood and was extremely shocked. Could it be? His heart trembled. He never thought that he would meet this person here. Is he not dead? There's no mistake. This must be the sword ancestor. Su Yun regained his senses. He was already sure. He immediately took a step forward, cupped his fists, and bowed respectfully to the man. Disciple Su Yun greets sword ancestor. Oh, you know who I am? The man was startled but quickly understood. Seems like you have cultivated the limitless sword arts, and to cultivate the limitless sword arts, you must pass the trial. I reckon that you have seen the strand of remnant, that I left behind in the sword space. And that's why you know me, right? Yes. Su Yun nodded. How excited was he? First, he found his parents that he had not seen for many years, and now, in the nameless prison of the Wanhua realm, he actually met the limitless sword ancestor. Limitless sword ancestor looked at Su Yun carefully, and then nodded his head and laughed. Not bad, not bad. I thought that the sword sect had already perished, but I never thought that there would be a successor. It seems like my judgment back then was not bad. The sword sect is still alive. Still circulating? The sword elder is already like that. If I did not find the sword arts in the tiger's den, I am afraid that the limitless sword sect would still not exist. Su Yun secretly cursed, but with regards to the sword ancestor appearing here, he was filled with questions. Sword ancestor, you are so powerful. Why are you in this prison? Why did the previous realm lord seal you here? This matter is a long story. Limitless sword ancestor was silent for a moment, then said, Actually, what you see now is only a strand of my soul. Soul? That's right. I'm used to traveling around, and I'm fond of collecting swords. As such, I made many friends, but I've also made many enemies. I don't know how long ago, but I offended an incredible sage. In a battle with this sage, I was plotted against. My soul was scattered, and I was divided into 10 different places. One of the strands of soul was scattered around the Wanhua realm, and at that time, it was scattered around the realm tree. Because I am an innate sword body, my sword chi is tyrannical, and when I landed on the realm tree, my soul automatically activated the protection of the sword chi storm, and the entire realm tree was attacked by the sword chi, and the realm tree was about to be destroyed. In order to protect the realm tree and protect all living beings, the realm lord had no choice but to use a forbidden technique to seal me here. And because the realm lord used the forbidden technique, half of her lifespan was consumed, and she died young, allowing the current realm lord to succeed her position. But she did not need to do so, because I would not leave this place so easily. After all, I'm only left with a strand of my soul, and the sword chi around me is difficult to control, so I will not leave this place. After Su Yun heard this, he was enlightened. So this was the cause and effect of the matter. What's your name? Who is the current sect leader of the Limitless Sword sect? Limitless Sword Ancestor asked again. Disciple Su Yun. The current sect leader of the Sword sect is Old Man Yujian. Old Man Yujian? I've never heard of it. I've been away from the Sword sect for many years. Limitless Sword Ancestor revealed a look of shame. Although I was the one who created the Sword sect, to be honest, I haven't been doing my best all these years. I only left behind a sword sheath and a sword art. I am truly incompetent. In order to protect the Limitless Sword sect, the Sword Elder has sacrificed a lot. The Sword sect is on the verge of extinction, and he has worked hard to support it. Although Sword Ancestor, you have never cared about the Sword sect, in the heart of the Sword Elder, it has always been his faith. Su Yun said seriously. Towards the Limitless Sword sect, Su Yun had always had an extremely special sense of closeness. Although he had joined many sects, none of them gave him this kind of feeling. It was a feeling that was close to home. Hearing that, Limitless Sword Ancestor laughed bitterly. Indeed, it is my fault. If there is a chance, I will return to the Sword sect to take a look, but speaking of which, the current me might not be able to return for a while. If I do not gather the scattered souls together, I will definitely not be able to return to the Sword sect. Where are your 3 souls and 7 spirits? Su Yun asked. There are 2 in the ultimate martial world, and the other 7 are in other realms. Sword Ancestor, do you know the exact location? This disciple is willing to help you find it. Su Yun said, I'm afraid this is not simple. I can sense the location of the other souls. The 2 locations in the ultimate martial world are extremely dangerous, let alone the other realms. If I don't try, how do I know if I can succeed? Su Yun said. Back then, if not for the Limitless Sword arts, he would not have been able to shatter the conspiracy of the Profound Sky sect and the Su family, and would not have been able to rewrite history, allowing Qing'er to survive. Su Yun knew that he owed the Sword sect. If he had the chance, how could he not repay the favor? Seeing the determination on Su Yun's smiling face, Limitless Sword Ancestor was silent for a while, then suddenly laughed out loud. Ha ha ha. All right, Su Yun, since you have such intentions, then I will agree to it. But before that, you still have to raise your cultivation. Sword Ancestor laughed. He then extended his hand and pressed it on Su Yun's shoulder and closed his eyes to gather chi. Su Yun was startled. He looked at Sword Ancestor's hand strangely. Very quickly, Sword Ancestor shook his head and said, with your current 3rd stage of Sky Spirit Master cultivation, why is your sword art still stuck at the lower 4 swords? At this stage of cultivation, you should break through the lower 4 swords as soon as possible and advance to the middle 2 swords. This disciple is slow-witted. It is difficult for me to comprehend the sword technique. Su Yun said. In fact, the most important thing was that there were too many things that had happened in the past few days, and although the sword art was good, it was not something that could be achieved through bitter cultivation. Su Yun also needed time to cultivate the Divine Wind Sword art and the Lotus Star Sword art, so the Limitless Sword arts had stagnated. Since that's the case, I'll teach you. Don't be in a hurry to leave this place. I'll give you some pointers and help you quickly step into the realm of the Sword Saint. Limitless Sword Ancestor laughed. Sword Saint realm? Su Yun's heart skipped a beat, and his breathing became hurried. However, he did not forget his purpose for coming here, so he did not immediately reply to Limitless Sword Ancestor, but instead asked, Then, Sword Ancestor, about my sister, can you— Your sister? Sword Ancestor's brows twitched, and then he sighed. Supreme Sect is not as simple as you think. Once you enter Supreme Sect, you will cut off everything and fishing people out from inside. That is as difficult as ascending to the heavens. But since you're a member of my limitless sword sect, if I do not help you, then I, as a patriarch, will seem even more incompetent. Don't worry, I will do my best to help you. You can just calm down and focus on learning the limitless sword arts. Yes, Sword Ancestor. Suyin nodded. Sword Ancestor indicated for the two of them to sit down. Sword Ancestor raised his hand slightly, and a sword made of chi appeared in his hand. Seeing that, Suyin was shocked and immediately asked, Sword Ancestor has already cultivated the absolute sword, the sword god realm. That's not it. There is only one sword in the absolute sword, and it is called the Sword of Ruler. It can transform into an infinite number of divine swords at will, but I have not cultivated to that realm, and I am still at the peak of the middle two swords. Although I'm only a step away from the absolute sword, it is still difficult for me to cross over. Hearing that, Suyin sighed his heart. With Sword Ancestor's cultivation, he was still stuck at the middle two swords. If he cultivated the sword arts, would he still have a chance to step into the absolute sword? However, he also had a doubt and asked, Sword Ancestor, this sword art doesn't seem to have been created by you? Limitless Sword Ancestor laughed. It can be said that it was created by me, but it can also be said that it wasn't created by me. What do you mean? Actually, this limitless sword arts was created by a sword, and when this sword created this sword art, I assisted it, which is why there is a sword art. Suyin was confused. He did not understand what he meant at all. Sword Ancestor looked at him and asked, Where is the limitless sword sheath? For now, put it at the entrance of the cave. Suyin hesitated for a moment and said. Sword Ancestor did not ask further and laughed. Suyin, do you know that the sword sheath has sealed the 108,000 divine swords that I placed inside? I know. I have already taken out several mother swords and thousands of subordinate swords to use. However, because the sword art has not broken through, I have not subdued any more divine swords. Do you think these divine swords are specially used by me to display the limitless sword arts for you? Sword Ancestor said. Hearing that, Suyin was puzzled. Could it be that there are other uses? Of course. Sword Ancestor stabbed the chi sword into the ground and said solemnly, Actually, their true purpose is to suppress. Suppress? Suppress what? The divine sword that created the limitless sword arts. Sword Ancestor said solemnly. In the early years of the primordial era, the nameless ominous sword appeared in the world, and with a 5-foot sword edge, it killed all the living beings in the myriad realms. Now, many people do not know this secret because at that time, almost all the living beings were destroyed by the ominous sword, and no one spread this secret. The ominous sword was extremely fierce, and with a single sword, not a single blade of grass grew, and bones were everywhere. At that time, I was only the size of a child, and the appearance of the ominous sword alarmed countless tyrants. The sages all took action, wanting to restrain the ominous sword, but after the ominous sword cleared the 100 realms, its aura weakened, and in the end, it became a mortal sword without any power. Seeing this, the mighty sages immediately went crazy. Such a powerful ominous sword. It was definitely a treasure, and thus, everyone fought and killed each other just to seize the sword, and in the name of protecting the ominous sword, to prevent it from causing chaos in the world again. However, their fighting once again alarmed the ominous sword, and the ominous sword was activated, releasing its ominous intent, and slaughtered all the sages. When my master heard the news, he took the risk of being killed by the ominous sword at any time and took the ominous sword, using his own life as the price to create a small world to seal the ominous sword. Every time the ominous sword became restless, it would not be able to break through this small world, but I was worried that sooner or later this small world would not be able to hold on. So I started to collect treasured swords from all over the place, and used the sharpness of these treasured swords to offset the ominous sword's aura, completely suppressing it. And thus, there was the limitless sword sheath, this divine object. and there were 108,000 swords inside. Chapter 604. Hearing Sword Ancestor's words, Su Yun felt that it was refreshing. He never thought that there would be such a universe inside the sword sheath. 108,000 swords are suppressing this evil sword. This evil sword is truly terrifying, but Sword Ancestor, where is this sword located in the sword sheath? Why haven't I seen it yet? It keeps changing its position, and I don't know its exact location. Furthermore, its shape, sword intent, sword aura, and so on are not the same. I don't know what it looks like now either. Sword Ancestor shook his head. Is that so? Su Yun, do you know what I used this death sword for? Sword Ancestor pointed to the pitch-black sword on the ground and said, Isn't it also used to suppress the evil sword? It does have this function, but it is not just that. Its greater function is to act as the main force, to restrain the berserk ominous sword. In other words, is a leading sword. Looking at the death sword's chi, it should have already completed the transformation of a primal sword. The current, I am afraid, has already surpassed a normal primal sword. It is truly your luck to be able to obtain this sword for you to use. Sword Ancestor said, The death sword is very powerful. I agree with that, but in the ultimate martial world, its power might be much weaker than before. Su Yun could not help but say, even if the death sword released all of its power, it would still be difficult to change the situation. After all, it was not like before, where it could help him challenge the strong. Oh, if you think that way, then you are gravely mistaken. Sword Ancestor smiled slightly. Its potential is beyond your imagination, because the sword spirit contained within it is not an ordinary sword spirit. Su Yun was startled. What sword spirit is it? You'll know in the future. The Sword Ancestor smiled mysteriously. All right, don't say any more. Let's begin. I will tell you about my understanding and experience of the limitless sword arts over the years. To help you analyze and comprehend, you have to listen carefully. Su Yun's expression was solemn as he listened attentively. Seeing that, Sword Ancestor started to speak. On a vast and huge ancient tree, there were countless wooden buildings. Men and women dressed in green walked back and forth between the branches. There were fresh fruits on the branches, and some children who looked to be no more than 7 or 8 years old were chasing and playing while picking fruits to eat. The scene was unusually harmonious. Far away, in front of the bottle gourd hanging in the middle of the towering ancient tree, a row of neatly dressed women were walking quickly towards the mouth of the bottle gourd. In front of these women in green, there was a woman in a colorful robe with a pure appearance and delicate eyebrows. The woman's expression was calm, and her eyes were full of spirituality as she looked forward. Her pace was neither fast nor slow as she walked inside. The moment it entered the mouth of the gourd, it immediately let out a cry. Greetings, Realm Lord! On the huge platform in the middle of the bottle gourd, the officials of the Wanhua realm were all prostrating themselves. Their faces were filled with respect and worship, and in the middle of these officials stood a person proudly. This person was dressed in a jade blue long robe. His eyes were thin and his face was long. His expression was arrogant, and he had no regard for anything in his eyes. Facing the sector lord who walked into the gourd, he didn't bow or bow. In fact, he didn't even glance at her. Instead, he allowed a cold snort. When the officials at the side saw this, they were infuriated. However, no one dared to reprimand this person, as if no one dared to provoke him due to his identity. However, the realm master didn't mind. She walked down and walked to her throne. She sat down, and her calm expression slowly turned into a dignified one. Who are you? Realm Lord said indifferently. Sword World's all-empty sex elite, Chong Wanqing. The man snorted. His voice was extremely arrogant. Sword World? All-empty sect? Realm Lord's slender and beautiful eyebrows frowned slightly. What are the people from all-empty sect doing here? To seek justice from you, Realm Lord. The envoy took out a broken jade disc from somewhere and threw it on the ground, then said coldly, My sect master's son, Xiao Huailin, died tragically in the Wanhua realm a few days ago, although the sect master knows that this matter has nothing to do with you. Realm Lord, but the sect master has ordered us to capture the murderer. And as the Realm Lord of the Wanhua realm, you must know who the person who killed the young master is. So the sect master ordered me to come here and request Realm Lord to quickly hand over the murderer. His words were sonorous and powerful, extremely arrogant, causing people to be unable to help but become angry. The group of officials all pointed at the man, but the other party came from the Sword World, and even more so from the famous all-empty sect of the Sword World. So many people did not dare to be angry. However, Realm Lord's beautiful white goose neck tilted slightly and asked curiously, "Who is Xiao Huailin?" The person was immediately at a loss for words, and only after a long while did he roar in a low voice, "Xiao Huailin is the sect master's son. You don't even know my young master? Speaking of which, I don't even know the name of your sect master. How could I possibly know his son?" The Realm Lord said indifferently. "You." The man was so angry that he almost jumped up. Looking at the Realm Lord's calm yet beautiful face, he took a few deep breaths, recovered, and then said coldly, "Regardless of whether you know who my young master is or not, today you must hand over the murderer who killed my young master, or else the Wanhua realm will not be at peace." I don't know who killed Xiao Huailin, although I have always advocated for peace, but in some corners of the Wanhua realm, there will always be fights and fights, and I have never cared about the outcome of the fights. So if you want to find the murderer, I am afraid you will have to investigate it yourself. I am unable to help you." The Realm Lord said indifferently. "Can't help?" The man's eyes slowly narrowed, and a cold light flashed past his eyes. "Are you joking with me? Everyone knows that the Wanhua Realm Lord is proficient in the forbidden reincarnation technique and is able to know everything about the past and the future. You only need to use the forbidden technique, and you will know who killed my young master. How could you not know? You already said that it's a forbidden technique, so how can you use it so casually? This goes against the laws of nature." The Realm Lord shook her head. The man's face turned ruthless. "So you're saying that you're not willing to hand over the murderer? I've already said it before. If you want to find the murderer, you can only investigate it yourselves. I can allow your all-empty sect to enter the Wanhua realm." Good. Good. Wow. A small Wanhua realm is also extremely arrogant now. The man sneered, then flicked his sleeve and snorted. "Since that's the case, then forget it. Forget it. Since you are unwilling to hand over the murderer, I can only go back and report, but don't think that this matter will be settled just like that. Just you wait, since my young master has lost his life in the Wanhua realm. No matter what, the sect leader will seek justice for young master." After he finished speaking, he turned around and left without looking back. He came arrogantly and left arrogantly. From the beginning to the end, he had always placed himself in the position of a superior. Damn bastard. Finally, someone could not hold it in any longer and suddenly shouted, "Stop right there. Do you think this is a place where you can come and go as you please?" The group of officials were completely enraged. All of them roared in anger, and a few people with extraordinary cultivation even wanted to make a move to keep this person here. Although this person claimed to be an elite, his cultivation was not as high as these officials. Seeing that they were about to make a move, he felt guilty. "Everyone, don't be impatient. Let him go." Just then, the realm master above spoke softly, stopping the angry officials. Seeing that, the all-empty sect secretly heaved a sigh of relief, but he couldn't help but snort and swagger out of the gourd. A sturdy old man with a full beard shifted his gaze away from the gourd and looked at the realm master. He said with slight annoyance, "Realm master, why did you let him leave just like that? This person's attitude is so vile, we have to teach him a lesson." "That's right, the people of the all-empty sect are too arrogant. Although my Wanhua realm has never caused trouble, but this time they have provoked us. That dog's son, Xiao Huailin, we have never heard of him. He died in the Wanhua realm. Why is he looking for us? This is simply bullying." Everyone was furious. However, there are also some people who were deeply worried. "Everyone, I'm afraid things aren't as simple as you think," Prime Minister Rong Myuk said indifferently as he held onto his staff. "Prime Minister Rong, what do you mean?" Everyone looked at him in confusion. Myuk could not help but shake his head. Sword World is a powerful world that focuses on fighting and killing. The people inside are all much stronger than us, the Wanhua realm, and they believe that people should continue to fight and kill in their entire lives. Although the All-Empty sect is not the biggest sect in the Sword World, the wife of the All-Empty sect leader, Phoenix Lady, is closely related to the incomparably powerful Cloud Heavenly Palace of the Sword World. The relationship between the All-Empty sect is complicated. If the one who dies is the sect leader's wife, I'm afraid that we will not only have to face the All-Empty sect. When the crowd heard this, some of their expressions changed. So what? Could it be that they will destroy our Wanhua realm? Do they have the ability to do that? Furthermore, our Wanhua realm does not have any external help. Realm Master, if the people of the All-Empty sect want to behave atrociously, then let them come. Why should we be afraid of them? A short-haired woman shouted. The ministers present discussed animatedly, feeling that it was unfair. However, the Realm Master sat upright and did not say a single word from start to finish. Perhaps everyone has overlooked one thing. Just then, Myuk spoke again. Everyone who was discussing turned to look at him. He opened his mouth slightly and said indifferently, "This time, we might not only be dealing with the people of the Sword World, but also the people of the true Devil Realm. If I am not wrong, the Realm Master is worried that the people of the true Devil Realm will take advantage of the situation and enter." These words had hit the nail on the head. When the group of people heard this, their expressions all changed. Those who were still vowing to teach the people of All-Empty sect a lesson also fell silent. The Wanhua realm had always been the target of the other realms spying. The All-Empty sect was coming aggressively. It was impossible for the people of the true Devil Realm to not have any news. If it was really as Myuk had said, then the Wanhua realm would soon change. Chapter 605. The group of officials retreated, leaving only the Realm Master and the senile Prime Minister Myuk in the huge gourd. The Realm Master lowered her head in thought. Her beautiful and clear face was like a tranquil lily, slightly curved eyelashes, pink lips, exquisite nose, a head of black and beautiful long hair hanging down. Her skin that could be broken by the wind seemed to be able to squeeze out water with a pinch. Her appearance was truly peerless. Who knew how many spirit cultivators were worried about her after seeing the Realm Master's true appearance? The boring path of cultivation had smoothed out their temperament, but when they saw the Realm Master's beautiful face, their gradually dimming temperament suddenly rose again. "Why aren't you leaving yet?" Just then, the Realm Master raised her beautiful head and asked with a clear and melodious voice. Myuk thought for a moment, then cupped his fists and said respectfully, "Realm Master, do you already know who killed Xiao Huailin?" The Realm Master was silent for about 7 to 8 breaths of time, then said indifferently, "We are the children of nature in this world. What can escape the eyes of nature? I already know who this person is." "Then what does the Realm Master mean? I need to negotiate with him." The Realm Master said indifferently, "The living beings of the Wanhua realm are innocent. I do not wish for them to suffer an undeserved calamity. Although handing over this person can settle the matter, but I also have to respect this person. I cannot casually kill him." With that, the Realm Master stood up and walked out of the gourd. Myuk bowed and cupped his fists, respectfully sending him off. Tap! A crisp sound rang out in the gloomy cell. Yun felt as if something had exploded in his body. His abdomen was hot, but he did not feel uncomfortable. Instead, a dense warmth floated up. His consciousness began to slowly fade, and he seemed to have fallen into a strange illusion as he gradually fell asleep. But very quickly, he opened his eyes again. However, the moment he opened his eyes, everything around him was no longer the pitch-black prison. Instead, it was replaced by a vast blue sky. And at that moment, Yun and Sword Ancestor were standing on top of the blue sky. Yun looked around, his eyes filled with shock. "Sword Ancestor, where is this?" Yun asked in shock. "This is my illusion space." The Sword Ancestor laughed. "Illusion space?" "That's right. I helped you wash your tendons and integrate the profound chi in your body. I don't know how you've been through all these years, but there are too many profound chi mixed in your body. Although there are many spirit essences, they're all in a mess. Devil chi, evil chi, swift wind spirit chi, pure divine spirit chi. If so many profound chi were to flow through the chi meridian at the same time, it would definitely cause the chi meridian to explode, causing your cultivation to drop greatly. But you have a divine object in your body, and if not for the protection of this divine object, you would have been crippled long ago. Divine item? Could it be the Monarch Occult Force? Monarch Occult Force? Good name. This power could be called divine power. Now you don't have to worry. The profound chi and spirit core in your body have already been properly integrated by me, Su Yun. Before you cultivate the sword arts, I will teach you a set of chants. Every time you advance a stage of cultivation, you'll follow the chants to integrate the profound strength in your body. After this integration, your profound chi and cultivation will become more stable and sturdy. This disciple will remember. Su Yun quickly said. The sword master nodded, and then said in a clear voice, the number of fire meridians is 9. The number of earth meridians is 7. The number of gold meridians is 5. The number of wood meridians is 3. The number of water meridians is 1. The number of gold meridians is 1. The number of wood meridians is 3. The number of water meridians is 1. The number of gold meridians is 1. The number of wood meridians is 1. The number of water meridians is 1. The number of gold meridians is 1. The number of wood meridians is 1. The number of wood meridians is 1. The number of water meridians is 1. The number of gold meridians is 1. The number of wood meridians is 1. The number of wood meridians is 1. The number of water meridians is 1. The number of gold meridians is 1. The number of wood meridians is 1. The number of wood meridians is 1. The number of water meridians is 1. The number of gold meridians is 1. The number of wood meridians is 1. The number of wood meridians is 1. The number of water meridians is 1. The number of wood meridians. The sword ancestor spoke very carefully and sat cross-legged in the blue sky, speaking while using his luck. Seeing that, Su Yun did not dare to delay and immediately followed suit. This was not a complicated chant, but it was extremely exquisite. Almost no spirit cultivator would integrate their own profound chi, and if they advanced, they would advance, and if they obtained power, they would obtain power. They would never care about it, and at most, they would harmonize the profound chi and calm it down. After integrating for an unknown period of time, Su Yun opened his eyes, memorizing the chant in his heart. It was like memorizing a poem. It was not difficult. You have already memorized this chant. Next, I will guide you in the cultivation of the twin swords and the limitless sword arts. But before that, Su Yun, you have to understand, no profound technique can make you immediately learn it. The role of a teacher is only to enlighten you a guide. To truly grasp this profound technique, you still need to comprehend and cultivate bitterly. Do you understand? Su Yun understands. All right. The sword ancestor nodded and then looked into the distance. He looked into the distance, and very quickly, a large number of magical birds flew over from afar. These birds were the size of a palm, and they covered the sky and earth like locusts. This was the sword ancestor's imaginary world. He could imagine anything out of thin air, and these birds were naturally his as well. He waved his hand slightly, and a seal floated in his palm. Following that, the powerful, pure divine spirit chi once again overflowed, rushing into the sky, converging together, transforming into a gigantic hand that covered the sky, and under the sword ancestor's dance, it flew towards the group of birds. Su Yun watched carefully, not daring to breathe. The huge hand covered all the birds, and then suddenly pulled back. So, a large number of transparent chi phase swords were pulled out from the bodies of every bird. There were countless of them, densely packed, and there were as many birds as there were swords. They flew back and revolved crazily around Su Yun and the sword ancestor. Not only were the number of swords astonishing, every single sword had an incomparably tyrannical aura, and if they were to touch it, their hands would be broken. The first of the middle two swords is the sword of all spirits. When you reach the realm of the middle two swords, you will be in the realm of the sword saint. At this stage, you can control as many swords as you want. You can draw spiritual swords from stone, wood, grass, and flowers to fight for you. These swords all have spirituality and will submit to you. They are very powerful, but you have to use them carefully because these so-called swords of energy are actually the essence, chi, and spirit of all spirits. It is best if they're not damaged, but you must return them after using them. The second sword of the middle two swords, the sword of stars. The sword ancestor snapped his fingers, and the chi swords around him suddenly dissipated, transforming into wisps of smoke that floated into the bodies of the birds, and the birds also disappeared. After that, he raised his hand and waved it towards the sky. The spirit Lord Chi in his hand exploded out again, but this time it was not much, it was just a ray of light. The light shot into the sky and disappeared. Su Yun stared at the sky, only to see that there was no change in the sky. Just as Su Yun thought that the sword ancestor had failed, a strange phenomenon occurred. The blue sky around the two of them suddenly disappeared and was replaced by endless stars. The two of them seemed to be in the universe, and bright starlight flickered in all directions. Don't use this sword easily. It's a sword that will exhaust you, a sword that will push you to the brink of death. No matter how much cultivation you have, or how much profound energy you have, once you use it, the profound energy in your body will be immediately sucked dry, and the power of this sword will be based on the amount of profound energy in your body. After the sword ancestor finished speaking, Su Yun felt all the hair on his body stand up. A sharp intent that he had never felt in his life flew from all directions. His body couldn't help but tremble. Cold sweat flowed down his face, and his breathing became more and more hurried. An indescribable sense of fear rose from his heart. Wung wung wung, a strange sound rang in his eardrums. Su Yun opened his eyes wide and looked around, only to see that all the stars in the distance had suddenly lit up. They flickered crazily, like indicator lights, flickering between light and dark. The pressure that each star gave Su Yun was not the slightest bit inferior to the feeling of Xiao Huailin's fire dragon. Finally, the stars were no longer dim. They began to shine brighter and brighter, more and more dazzling. It was as if the entire universe was going to be illuminated by them. Boom! The first star exploded with a burst of sword chi, only to see a light sword flying over like a meteor, rushing towards Su Yun. In that moment, Su Yun felt his vision blur. It was impossible to catch the light. Boom! 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 The second star exploded. Then the third, the fourth. In the distance, the sword flow was like a falling star. At this moment, the so-called planet was like a piece of paper. It was as if with just a thought, it would be completely smashed into powder by the endless star sword. Su Yun felt his eardrums completely explode, his head buzzing. Following that, he was completely surrounded by the fierce and sharp starlight sword. At this moment, he actually discovered that the fighting spirit in his heart had been completely extinguished. He could not produce the slightest bit of fighting spirit. He was completely suppressed and conquered by the sword force emitted by the sword. This was a power that completely belonged to the universe. Could a person really use it? Perhaps only a god would be able to control such a terrifying power. The sword ancestor seemed to have noticed Su Yun's abnormality. With a slight snap of his fingers, the surrounding phenomenon suddenly dissipated, the stars disappeared, the sword intent disappeared, the terrifying divine power disappeared, and the two of them returned to the blue sky. Su Yun only managed to escape from the extremely painful feeling of oppression after a long while. He heaved a sigh of relief and panted with all his might. His face was extremely pale, and sweat dripped down like beans. Your cultivation is still shallow. It is enough for you to obtain the first sword. The second sword still needs to be slowly honed. This is just an introduction to you. Don't worry too much about it. The sword ancestor said. Disciple understands. Su Yun exhaled and said in a slightly embarrassed manner, "Oh, right, there's something I forgot to tell you." At this time, the sword ancestor suddenly said, "What?" That is, right now, I'm only in the state of a strand of soul. The scene you saw just now was based on the strength of this strand of soul. In other words, the real situation will be different. The higher the cultivation, the greater the power of the limitless sword arts, and vice versa. Therefore, when you are cultivating the sword arts, do not neglect your cultivation. Without your cultivation as a foundation, no matter how strong the sword arts are, they are just useless. Hearing that, Suyin nodded his head seriously. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.